de lignes de code écrites chaque jour sur le continent. Cette Afrique n'attend pas que l'innovation arrive de l'extérieur. Elle la crée, elle l'adapte, elle la diffuse. Une Afrique inventive, connectée et ambitieuse. Une Afrique qui prouve que le futur ne se construit pas seulement dans la Silicon Valley, mais aussi à Lagos, Nairobi, Kigali, Accra ou Le Caire. C'est cette Afrique technologique, créatrice et audacieuse que le monde commence à peine à découvrir et qui mérite enfin d'être pleinement reconnue. L'Afrique économique d'aujourd'hui est portée par une énergie nouvelle, celle de la production, de l'entrepreneuriat et de l'ambition. Loin de l'image d'un continent uniquement consommateur ou dépendant de l'extérieur, l'Afrique construit, transforme, exporte et innove. Des usines aux champs agricoles modernisés, des marchés locaux aux zones industrielles, une Afrique productive est à l'œuvre, souvent hors du champ des caméras internationales. Au cœur de cette transformation se trouve l'industrialisation. Dans plusieurs régions du continent, l'industrie africaine connaît une montée en puissance spectaculaire. L'automobile, autrefois quasi inexistante, est aujourd'hui un secteur stratégique. Au Maroc, des usines automobiles produisent des centaines de milliers de véhicules par an, destinés aussi bien au marché local qu'à l'exportation vers l'Europe et d'autres régions du monde. En Afrique du Sud, l'industrie automobile est depuis longtemps intégrée aux chaînes de valeur mondiales, avec des véhicules assemblés localement et exportés à grande échelle. Le ciment est un autre pilier de cette Afrique industrielle. Sur ce terrain, un nom symbolise à lui seul l'ambition industrielle africaine, Aliko Dangote. Avec la Dangote Refinery, située près de Lagos, le Nigeria a franchi un cap historique. Cette raffinerie, l'une des plus grandes au monde, représente un investissement de plus de 20 milliards de dollars. Sa capacité de raffinage atteint 650 000 barils de pétrole par jour, ce qui en fait la plus grande raffinerie d'Afrique et l'une des plus importantes à l'échelle mondiale. Cette infrastructure colossale permet au Nigeria de réduire drastiquement ses importations de carburant, de renforcer sa souveraineté énergétique et de créer des milliers d'emplois directs et indirects. La réalisation de Dangote n'est pas seulement un succès individuel, elle est le symbole d'une Afrique capable de porter des projets industriels de plusieurs milliards de dollars avec une vision à long terme. Dans le textile également, l'Afrique reprend progressivement le contrôle de sa chaîne de valeur. Des pays comme l'Éthiopie, le Rwanda ou le Bénin investissent dans des zones industrielles textiles, créant des emplois et transformant localement le coton africain. Cette industrialisation textile vise à passer d'un rôle de simple exportateur de matières premières à celui de producteur de biens à valeur ajoutée. Mais l'Afrique productive ne se limite pas aux usines. L'agriculture africaine entre elle aussi dans une nouvelle ère. Longtemps associée à des méthodes traditionnelles, elle se modernise rapidement. Mécanisation, irrigation intelligente, utilisation de données climatiques, transformation agroalimentaire, une agriculture moderne émerge sur tout le continent. Des exploitations agricoles à grande échelle côtoient des PME agricoles innovantes, capables de nourrir les marchés locaux et régionaux. Le secteur agricole reste l'un des plus grands pourvoyeurs d'emplois en Afrique, mais il devient aussi un moteur de croissance économique et d'exportation. Cette modernisation agricole est étroitement liée à l'essor des industries de transformation. Plutôt que d'exporter des produits bruts, de plus en plus de pays africains investissent dans la transformation locale. Cacao transformé en chocolat, fruits transformés en jus, céréales transformées en produits finis. Cette logique renforce la valeur ajoutée locale et soutient le développement des PME. L'énergie est un autre pilier fondamental de l'Afrique économique moderne. Les énergies renouvelables occupent une place croissante dans les stratégies de développement. L'Afrique dispose d'un potentiel solaire, éolien et hydraulique immense. Des centrales solaires voient le jour au Maroc, en Afrique du Sud, en Égypte ou au Sénégal. Des barrages hydroélectriques structurants fournissent de l'électricité à de millions de foyers et d'entreprises. Ces investissements énergétiques soutiennent l'industrialisation, réduisent les coûts de production et renforcent l'indépendance énergétique du continent. Au-delà des secteurs, ce sont surtout les acteurs de cette Afrique économique qui méritent d'être mis en lumière. Les entrepreneurs africains sont au cœur de cette dynamique.
Ils créent des entreprises dans l'industrie, la technologie, l'agriculture, le commerce et les services. Certains bâtissent des groupes panafricains. D'autres développent des PME locales solides, ancrées dans leur territoire. Leur point commun, une volonté de produire en Afrique, pour l'Afrique et pour le monde. Les femmes leaders occupent une place de plus en plus visible dans cette économie. Chefs d'entreprise, dirigeantes de PME, responsables industriels ou actrices du commerce, elles transforment les économies locales et régionales. Dans les marchés modernes, les zones industrielles ou les centres commerciaux, les femmes africaines sont des moteurs essentiels de la croissance. Les PME locales constituent l'épine dorsale de l'économie africaine. Elles créent des emplois, structurent les marchés et assurent la résilience économique. Qu'il s'agisse d'unités de transformation, d'entreprises de logistique, de commerce moderne ou de services, ces PME sont partout. Elles s'adaptent, innovent et répondent aux besoins d'une population urbaine et connectée. Les marchés africains eux-mêmes se transforment. Aux côtés des marchés traditionnels, on voit émerger des centres commerciaux modernes, des zones commerciales structurées et des espaces de vente organisés. Ces lieux témoignent de l'évolution des modes de consommation et de l'essor d'une classe moyenne africaine.
Un élément clé vient renforcer cette Afrique économique, le commerce intra-africain. Avec la zone de libre-échange continentale africaine, ZLECAf, l'Afrique s'est engagée dans l'un des projets économiques les plus ambitieux de son histoire. L'objectif est clair, faciliter les échanges entre pays africains, réduire les barrières douanières et créer un vaste marché de plus de 1,4 milliard de personnes. Cette intégration économique vise à stimuler la production locale, à renforcer les chaînes de valeur régionales et à réduire la dépendance aux marchés extérieurs. La ZLECAf n'est pas une simple idée. Elle commence déjà à transformer les flux commerciaux, à encourager les investissements et à pousser les entreprises africaines à penser à l'échelle continentale. Pour de nombreux entrepreneurs, le marché africain devient une opportunité majeure, capable de rivaliser avec les grands marchés mondiaux. L'Afrique économique n'est donc ni marginale ni passive. Elle est en construction permanente. Elle investit, produit, échange et ambitionne. Des raffineries géantes comme celle de Dangote aux PME locales, des exploitations agricoles modernisées aux zones industrielles, un même fil conducteur apparaît. La volonté de bâtir une prospérité durable. Cette Afrique ne demande pas de la charité. Elle demande à être reconnue pour ce qu'elle est, un continent de travailleurs, de producteurs et de créateurs de valeur. Une Afrique qui fabrique. Une Afrique qui exporte. Une Afrique qui commerce avec elle-même et avec le monde. C'est cette Afrique économique, productive et ambitieuse que l'on voit encore trop rarement à l'écran. Pourtant, elle est déjà là, bien réelle, et elle façonne le futur du continent.
La nature africaine est souvent montrée comme figée, brute, sauvage, presque coupée du monde moderne. Cette vision réductrice oublie une réalité essentielle. La nature africaine est habitée, protégée, valorisée et intégrée à des économies touristiques modernes et structurées. Elle n'est pas un vestige du passé, mais un pilier vivant du présent et de l'avenir du continent. L'Afrique est l'un des continents les plus riches au monde en diversité naturelle. Elle abrite près de 25% de la biodiversité mondiale, des écosystèmes uniques et des paysages parmi les plus spectaculaires de la planète. Mais cette richesse naturelle ne vit pas en dehors de la modernité. Elle coexiste avec des infrastructures touristiques, des stratégies de conservation avancées et une industrie du voyage en pleine transformation. Le désert africain en est l'un des symboles les plus puissants. Le Sahara, le plus grand désert chaud du monde, s'étend sur plusieurs pays et fascine par son immensité. Loin d'être un espace vide, il est aujourd'hui parcouru par des routes modernes, des lodges haut de gamme et des circuits touristiques organisés. Du Maroc à la Mauritanie, de l'Algérie au Niger, le tourisme saharien associe aventure, culture et confort. Plus au sud, le désert du Namib, en Namibie, offre l'un des paysages les plus photogéniques au monde, avec ses dunes rouges plongeant dans l'océan Atlantique. Ce désert est aussi l'un des mieux protégés de la planète, intégré dans des parcs nationaux dotés d'infrastructures touristiques modernes et respectueuses de l'environnement. Les côtes africaines racontent une autre histoire, tout aussi éloignée des clichés. Avec plus de 30 000 km de littoral, l'Afrique possède certaines des plus belles plages du monde. Du Sénégal à la Tanzanie, du Mozambique aux Seychelles, le continent offre une diversité balnéaire exceptionnelle. Zanzibar attire chaque année des centaines de milliers de visiteurs grâce à ses plages de sable blanc, ses hôtels de luxe et son patrimoine historique. Les Seychelles, régulièrement classées parmi les meilleures destinations balnéaires mondiales, ont accueilli plus de 350 000 touristes en 2023, un chiffre remarquable pour un pays de moins de 100 000 habitants. Ces destinations ne reposent pas sur une nature laissée à l'abandon, mais sur des infrastructures touristiques de haut niveau, resorts écologiques, aéroports modernes, marinas, routes côtières et services hôteliers aux standards internationaux. Le tourisme balnéaire africain est synonyme de confort, de sécurité et d'excellence. Les montagnes africaines, elles aussi, défient les stéréotypes. Le mont Kilimandjaro, point culminant du continent, attire chaque année plus de 50 000 randonneurs venus du monde entier. Son ascension est encadrée par des guides professionnels, des infrastructures logistiques bien organisées et des politiques de conservation strictes. Dans le nord du continent, les montagnes de l'Atlas offrent des paysages spectaculaires, des villages connectés et un tourisme de montagne en plein essor, combinant randonnée, écotourisme et hébergement moderne. L'Afrique est également le continent des forêts et des parcs nationaux. On y compte plus de 300 parcs nationaux et réserves naturelles, dont de nombreux sites classés au patrimoine mondial de l'UNESCO. Ces espaces protégés ne sont pas de simples sanctuaires isolés. Ils sont intégrés à des stratégies de conservation modernes, utilisant des technologies de surveillance, des drones, des systèmes GPS et des partenariats internationaux. Les parcs du Kenya, de la Tanzanie, du Botswana, de l'Afrique du Sud ou du Gabon sont des références mondiales en matière de protection de la faune et de gestion durable. Le tourisme de safari, souvent caricaturé, est aujourd'hui une industrie sophistiquée. Lodges de luxe, camps écologiques, guides formés, véhicules modernes, tout est pensé pour offrir une expérience haut de gamme tout en respectant les écosystèmes. Le Botswana, par exemple, a fait le choix d'un tourisme à faible volume mais à forte valeur ajoutée, générant des revenus importants tout en préservant ses espaces naturels. Ces efforts portent leurs fruits. Selon les données récentes, le tourisme représente environ 8 à 9% du PIB africain et emploie directement ou indirectement plus de 24 millions de personnes sur le continent. Après la pandémie, le secteur connaît une reprise rapide. En 2023, l'Afrique a accueilli plus de 65 millions de touristes internationaux avec une croissance particulièrement forte en Afrique du Nord et en Afrique de l'Est. Cette renaissance du tourisme africain repose sur une vision moderne. Les hôtels de luxe africains n'ont rien à envier à ceux d'autres régions du monde. Des chaînes internationales côtoient des marques africaines haut de gamme. Villas privées, spas, centres de bien-être, gastronomie raffinée. L'expérience touristique africaine est désormais synonyme de sophistication. Dans le même temps, l'écotourisme se développe rapidement. Des projets communautaires permettent aux populations locales de bénéficier directement des retombées économiques du tourisme tout en protégeant leur environnement.
Les infrastructures touristiques suivent cette dynamique. Aéroports modernisés, routes d'accès au parc, ports de plaisance, réseaux de transport fiables. Voyager en Afrique devient de plus en plus fluide. Les gouvernements et les acteurs privés investissent massivement pour faire du tourisme un moteur de développement durable. Ce modèle montre une Afrique consciente de la valeur de sa nature. Une Afrique qui ne se contente pas de la montrer, mais qui la gère, la protège et la transforme en opportunité économique et culturelle. La nature n'est pas opposée à la modernité, elle en est un pilier. Cette réalité contraste fortement avec l'image d'une Afrique sauvage et arriérée. La nature africaine est vivante, connectée, visitée et respectée. Elle attire des voyageurs exigeants, des investisseurs et des amoureux de paysages authentiques, sans renoncer au confort ni à l'innovation. L'Afrique n'est pas un musée figé. C'est un continent où la nature et la modernité avancent ensemble.
Le peuple africain d'aujourd'hui incarne une énergie et un dynamisme souvent invisibilisés dans les récits médiatiques occidentaux. Au cœur d'un continent marqué par sa jeunesse, sa créativité et sa capacité d'adaptation, se trouve une génération instruite, connectée et résolument tournée vers l'avenir. Cette génération ne se contente pas de subir les transformations mondiales, elle les façonne, les réinvente et les propulse. L'Afrique est en train de réécrire sa propre histoire, non plus uniquement à travers ses défis, mais surtout par ses talents, ses ambitions et ses contributions au monde moderne. La jeunesse africaine est immense et représente une ressource humaine majeure. À l'horizon 2030, les jeunes Africains, 15-35 ans, pourraient représenter jusqu'à 42% de la jeunesse mondiale, un signe du dividende démographique qui se joue sur le continent. Ce n'est pas seulement une question de nombre, mais de potentiel. Cette jeunesse est de plus en plus scolarisée, curieuse et aspirante à des carrières professionnelles exigeantes dans tous les secteurs. Cette expansion est visible notamment dans l'enseignement supérieur. Bien que l'accès reste inégal, l'inscription à l'université en Afrique a plus que doublé depuis les années 2000, reflétant une aspiration massive à l'éducation et au savoir. Les jeunes Africains s'inscrivent aujourd'hui dans des filières allant des sciences et technologies aux sciences sociales et aspirent à devenir des acteurs clés de l'innovation dans leur pays comme à l'étranger. De plus, des efforts politiques commencent à transformer certaines réalités locales, comme au Namibie, où l'accès à l'université publique et à la formation professionnelle sera gratuit à partir de 2026, une mesure qui vise à renforcer l'éducation, à réduire le chômage des jeunes et à favoriser l'inclusion sociale. L'Afrique ne forme pas seulement des étudiants, elle forme une nouvelle génération de professionnels hautement qualifiés. Dans le secteur de la santé, par exemple, plusieurs pays ont augmenté leurs effectifs médicaux à grande échelle. Le nombre d'écoles de médecine en Éthiopie est passé de 7 à 35 et la formation de personnel de santé s'accélère de façon significative, réduisant les lacunes historiques dans ce domaine. Sur le plan des sciences, de la technologie, de l'ingénierie et des mathématiques, STEM, l'Afrique doit encore former de millions de spécialistes supplémentaires d'ici 2030. Mais l'ambition est claire, combler les besoins en ingénieurs, technologues et chercheurs qui répondent aux exigences des industries modernes. Ce mouvement vers des professions qualifiées est un élément crucial de la transformation économique du continent. Il renforce sa capacité à concevoir, produire et gérer des solutions locales adaptées aux défis contemporains, de la santé publique à l'énergie, en passant par les technologies numériques et les infrastructures. L'Afrique n'est plus seulement consommateur de culture mondialisée, elle est devenue un producteur influent de contenu numérique. Les créateurs africains occupent aujourd'hui une place de choix sur les africaines et célébrés sur les podiums, dans les galeries et dans les publications internationales. Une part essentielle de cette transformation est la connectivité numérique. La pénétration d'Internet en Afrique a connu une croissance rapide, bien que le continent reste en dessous de la moyenne mondiale.
En 2024, environ 38% de la population africaine était connectée à Internet, comparé à 68% à l'échelle mondiale. Toutefois, ce chiffre progresse chaque année. Le contraste générationnel est significatif. 53% des jeunes Africains, 15-24 ans, utilisent Internet contre 34% pour les autres tranches d'âge, ce qui montre à quel point cette jeunesse est en train de devenir le moteur de la transformation numérique du continent. Quant aux téléphones mobiles, ils sont omniprésents. Une étude récente indique que 98% des personnes interrogées utilisent un smartphone et une majorité accède à l'Internet mobile pour naviguer, communiquer, consommer ou créer du contenu chaque jour. Les réseaux sociaux jouent un rôle central dans la vie quotidienne des Africains. Ils ne servent pas seulement au divertissement, mais aussi à l'éducation, à la mobilisation citoyenne, à la création d'entreprises et à l'expression culturelle. Les plateformes comme WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube et TikTok sont devenues des espaces où de nouvelles idées prennent vie, où des mouvements sociaux se forment et où se construisent des communautés transnationales. La mode africaine, la musique, les danses, le cinéma et la littérature ne sont plus confinés à des publics locaux. Ils voyagent, influencent et redéfinissent ce qu'il est d'être africain dans une économie mondialisée. Des stylistes de Lagos aux réalisateurs de Nairobi, en passant par les musiciens d'Accra ou de Johannesburg, la culture africaine se déploie comme une esthétique globale, résolument moderne, mais profondément enracinée dans des traditions vivantes. Les musiques afrobeat, amapiano, goum ou encore le rap francophone africain dominent les playlists mondiales et les créateurs de mode revisitent les textiles, les motifs et les silhouettes africaines pour les intégrer dans un langage contemporain et international. Ce qui unit tous ces domaines, éducation, profession, création, technologie et culture, c'est une jeunesse africaine confiante, ambitieuse et déterminée à faire entendre sa voix. Cette nouvelle génération sait qu'elle n'est pas simplement un observateur de la transformation mondiale, elle en est un acteur essentiel. Elle bâtit des entreprises, invente des solutions numériques, mène des mouvements de changement politique, innove dans l'art et le design et raconte au monde qui elle est vraiment. Ce portrait ne fait pas abstraction des défis, inégalité d'accès à l'éducation, fractures numériques persistantes, infrastructures insuffisantes, mais met en lumière le potentiel extraordinaire d'un peuple en mouvement. L'Afrique n'est pas simplement jeune, elle est en train de se réinventer, avec une énergie qui dépasse les stéréotypes dépassés et les récits simplistes. L'Afrique ne demande plus d'être vue comme un continent de besoins, elle aspire à être reconnue pour ses talents, sa créativité, son leadership et sa contribution à un monde plus connecté, plus divers et plus humain. Au terme de ce voyage à travers le continent africain, une vérité s'impose avec clarté. L'Afrique n'est pas ce que l'on vous montre. Elle n'est pas ce récit unique, figé et souvent dramatique qui domine encore trop d'écrans à travers le monde. Ce que vous avez vu ici n'est pas une Afrique idéalisée, ni une Afrique niant ses défis. C'est une Afrique réelle, complète, multiple. Une Afrique de villes modernes, d'infrastructures ambitieuses et d'innovations audacieuses. Une Afrique qui soigne, qui éduque, qui produit et qui invente. Une Afrique de paysages spectaculaires, mais aussi de technologie, d'entrepreneurs, d'universités et de talents. L'Afrique est diverse par ses cultures, ses langues, ses peuples et ses trajectoires. Il n'existe pas une Afrique unique, mais des Afriques, chacune avec son identité, ses réussites et ses ambitions. C'est précisément cette diversité qui fait sa force. Elle permet au continent d'innover autrement, de s'adapter, de créer des solutions nouvelles, souvent en avance sur leur temps. L'Afrique est aussi moderne. Moderne dans ses villes, dans ses modes de vie, dans ses usages technologiques. Moderne dans sa capacité à sauter des étapes, à inventer des modèles qui n'existent nulle part ailleurs. Cette modernité n'est pas une copie, elle est africaine, ancrée dans les réalités locales et tournée vers le monde. Et surtout, l'Afrique est tournée vers l'avenir. Plus de la moitié de sa population a moins de 25 ans. C'est une jeunesse connectée, éduquée, ambitieuse, consciente des défis, mais déterminée à les relever. Cette jeunesse est la plus grande richesse du continent. Elle porte les projets, les entreprises, les idées et les visions qui façonneront l'Afrique de demain. Changer le regard sur l'Afrique, ce n'est pas seulement corriger une image, c'est accepter que le récit dominant n'est ni neutre ni complet. Et c'est comprendre que l'Afrique n'a pas besoin d'être sauvée, mais comprise, respectée et écoutée.
B-News One, le tam-tam du continent. B-News One, au cœur de l'information. B-News One, le tam-tam du continent.
The issues signing on right now on Inside the Issues. We talk about topical issues affecting the life of the nation Cameroon with the intention of taking the nation one step further. The program comes up every Wednesday from 2 to 4 p.m. with a rebroadcast on several occasions. I am Fabrice Kedinga on today's edition of the program, and I am joined by a tag team of panelists, men of fine brain. On today's edition of the program, we are going to be looking at the Anglophone crisis 10 years on. Has the government done enough for internally displaced individuals? Of course, we are not equally going to be looking at the actions of the government for towards internally displaced persons. Of course, as we all know, the Anglophone crisis started in 2016, and in early 2017, it escalated into an armed conflict which has seen close to 6,000 to 7,000 Cameroonians, including, of course, Cameroonians, that is both the separatists and the military, being killed, according to latest statistics. Of course, we have close to about 500,000 internally displaced persons who are now struggling to live. When are they going to return to their homes? This is the question that we shall attempt and answer on today's edition of the program Inside Issues, coming to you live from Yaoundé on B-News One Television from Oja. Time for me to welcome the gentlemen that I have on today's edition of the program. And first, I begin to my left, where I have Apostle Gilbert Macaulay. Apostle Gilbert Macaulay is a clergy. He's an educationist, and he is also of the civil society, because he runs an organization that's the Community Development Initiative Network, which of course fights for the community, better living standards for the vulnerable persons. Thank you very much for joining us on today's edition of the program.
Thank you, Fabrice. Thank you very much. Thank you, our fellow viewers. I'm grateful for today's program, which is talking about the internally displaced person. I know this is a core situation of which we are finding ourselves in this country, in Cameroon, especially during a crisis moment that I've due for all this while, almost 10 years today. I think with our co-panelists that we are here together, I want to also welcome them. I know we are going to demystify and come to understanding what is really going to be done to that has really been during this moment that have affected the life of Cameroonians that were displaced from different regions, different villages and towns. And today we'll be talking on that. I want to say it's going to be a great moment
to have you when we have topics that directly affect the lives of Cameroonians. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Fabrice. Good afternoon to all my co-panelists. Good afternoon to all the wonderful televiewers of BNews One. It's always a pleasure to be here, particularly to talk on key issues plaguing our society. But it's rather unfortunate that when you look at the events that are happening in our nation, there's a lot of feminicide going on, infanticide and all the like. Just yesterday, a 45-year-old woman was, butchered in a hotel room by somebody who is presently under custody in the neighborhood of Omispor. I mean, these are things that we have been seeing since the beginning of this year. I think from January to now, we are at roughly 56 cases of feminicide. That's too much. Not to talk of the 100 and something cases of rapes. And it's important to note that this rape is not only for elderly girls. You also have kids. These are terrible things that we always need to discourage from our society. And if possible, we have a sentence, the death sentence, which is still existing in Cameroon. It's true that it has been low-key for a very long time now. But I think sanctions to the tune of death penalty should be given to perpetrators of feminicide, rape, those who kill, because I don't see the point killing somebody and you staying alive. There's no point, so that you stay to do more is rather unfortunate. So I think we Cameroonians, we should be responsible enough. I understand that sometimes the causes of these things are tilted towards frustration, poverty, and all the like, but it's still not an excuse, and it should be taken very, very seriously. The forces of law and order should be proactive in this regard, as in when a neighborhood notices such things, it should be called them, and they should act as fast as possible.
Of course, the respective government ministries should also, play their part, because what we have noticed is that, for example, we have a number of ministries. We have the Ministry of Women's Affairs and the Family. We have the Ministry of Social Affairs. But you only find these ministries coming like, the army rescue, coming at the end when something has already happened. This also means that this ministry, they need to, bring out programs of, information programs on the devastating consequences of these things which continue to happen. Because as it's happening daily, it means that someone somewhere has not done his or her job.
Exactly, and it seems to me like we are normalizing it, because just as you said earlier, we see these officials at the end of it when the act has been done and dusted. Actually, you see most of them are just going for condolence visits, which was not supposed to be the case. I mean, I see the Ministry of Women Empowerment is like they are in a move of passing a bill in Parliament to see how to sanction, to see how to cadre some of these issues. But nonetheless, it's very, very important that we talk about it, sensitize our young brothers, men and ladies, because when they talk of feminicide, it's true, feminicide is popular, but we also have the harm on men, so it's both sides. So nonetheless, every human life is important, and we should be very, very careful the way because sometimes the cause of these things is an argument. We should avoid arguments. I mean, we should control our emotions. We should control, our anger. No matter the circumstance. If you notice that it's becoming physical, I think the best thing to do is to run away.
Accept defeat.
Accept defeat. Accept defeat. There is no need being a hero in the grave.
There is no hero in the grave.
Yes, there is no hero in the grave, and there is no need, trying to prove a point to somebody whom you see that psychologically, mentally is not stable. So why are you struggling to prove a point to somebody who is psychologically not stable? So we should be responsible before even waiting on the government to play its role. We should be responsible ourselves and avoid such scenarios. I think it's very important.
Of course, it's very, very important. I was about asking you what has been that striking news event of the week, but I discovered that.
Yeah, aside the Lions, the Lions, of course, we still have the nostalgia of they winning the
first AFCON trophy.
Exactly, the first AFCON for the nation, for the ladies. All Cameroonians, I think we are all proud. At this level now, we don't know whether who is responsible. At least, thank God. When
it's a victory for all Cameroonians, and Cameroonians are celebrating.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Ntsangi Frank Roosevelt. We are going to be coming back to Yina Alois Amot, who is of the MP3 party. We are going to be coming back to him in a moment. But let's before we begin the discussion, of course, we are barely few weeks to the 2026-2027 academic year, and preparations have been going on across the country ahead of the new school year. Now in Fako, that is in the southwest region of Cameroon. Of course, we were going to be taking that report. We are going to take it to our machine to take that report of how back to school is unfolding in Fako in the southwest region of Cameroon. But our control room says the report is not yet ready. So we are going to begin the discussions before we go back to the report. Now, I begin the discussions with you, Frank. I mean, we are talking about the Anglophone crisis 10 years on. The situation of refugees, internally displaced persons.
Yeah, is first of all the cause, which is the Anglophone crisis. But it's important to note that having IDPs, having refugees, having in quotes asylum seekers, because we also have asylum seekers in Cameroon. The causes are numerous. We have the Anglophone crisis in the northwest and the southwest. You have the refugee crisis in the east, since we share a border with Central African Republic. We also have the crisis, the Boko Haram crisis in the far north. So putting all of this together, you discover that it gives us a total of about 3.4 million internally displaced persons, which is quite enormous. And looking at the budget to manage, because there's some sort of a budgetary gap here, because when you look at the statistics, it shows that they were supposed to be on a budget of about $389 billion, but so far just about 20% of that budget has been consumed. And this budget is there, to take care of them, house them for some time, give them basic amenities, maybe mattresses, toilet paper, food, and so on and so forth. But you discover that out of the $289 billion, we are just about 20% of consumption of that budget. So we still have a budgetary gap to manage IDPs of about $252 billion. So everything being equal, you discover that these guys are still stranded. I'm talking here about the IDPs, because of course nobody is an IDP because they wanted. Is because of a situation. And I think that to better remedy this issue of IDPs, preferably we solve the problem. We solve the problem at its core. It has been a political problem, but that political problem grew up to a social problem. It grew up to an economic problem, reason why we see people displacing themselves. But nonetheless, as the years are going by, we kind of realize that today here is reducing, the next day is going up, but everything being equal, we still have some people, some of these IDPs returning back to these areas. It's very important to note that these IDPs are not only coming out, but some are going back. when you look at some of the villages that were deserted at the beginning of the crisis since 2016, as time is going on, you see you kind of have 1 or 2 people who returning. Reason why it's very important that we note the number that are returning. But at the end of the day, I think what is important is we should brainstorm on the various ways that we can have to come out of this situation, particularly that which concerns the Anglophone crisis, because it's something that is an Anglophone, is a Cameroonian problem. It's an internal issue. For Boko Haram, they are external.
Okay.
We can always handle them at any time, but this is an internal something that concerns Cameroonians. You have the army fighting, you have Cameroonian army fighting Cameroonian people. They will term them terrorists, they will term them ambassadors, but they are all Cameroonians. So it's a very, very serious issue that needs to be handled, and I want to believe that during the course of our debate we are going to come up with possible ways to remedy the Anglophone crisis.
Okay. Apostle Gilbert, before we introduce, I'm sure you just bear with us, we are going to be introducing you. You should not appear and disappear like we saw in the course of the week on our TV screen. When you come, you're going to stay. Apostle Gilbert, we are looking at a very critical topic in the life of Cameroon. The Anglophone crisis 10 years on. How will you look at the state of internally displaced persons, the current state of IDPs in our nation?
I've been looking at this particular topic and what we are facing today. I want to say the Norwegian Refugee Council classified Cameroon, this crisis of an Anglophone crisis, like the most neglected crisis, of which the most neglected crisis in the world, concerning the displacement of internally displaced persons, because pointing to the adequate funding, like what our brother just said, there's inadequate funding for this particular crisis. So looking at that from 2025, they classify this as a very neglected case of displacement of internally displaced person. You come to think with me that they thought they did not like program this crisis to become this far. They never thought that this crisis would go this far, take this lot of time. So the budgeting was very, very much limited. And they were just targeting maybe just those emergency needs, like food item, mattress. They did not talk about maybe shelter. And that's what they didn't even talk about, maybe the education.
No one expected that it's going to take 10 years.
Yeah, they never.
We are not saying 10 years is ending. We don't know. As it stands, no one knows the future of this crisis.
Yeah, the problem with it also is that one of the crises was because of the people in place. They was making the world to understand that the crisis will not take no long. It's going to be.
And everything is under control.
Everything is under control and it's going to stop, and they are already taking control over it. They are able to handle it. If you look at it, the government came out sometime to say that it's under control and they're going to handle it within the shortest time. This crisis will be over. So they made the international community to see that there was nothing so serious. So it was later on that the international community discovered that it was serious than what they were hearing, and they were now coming in emergency relief with those basic material, the basic need. So they did not program for sustainable goal for the crisis. Like education, you see, like some of our children have dropped out of school, they cannot no longer go. And some of the people who were even like they were thinking that they were internally displaced persons, that they were to give them even a coffin or a sustainable effort to make them to stay where they are in their host community and have a peaceful coherence with the people. But they never thought of all this, and they were only intervening in food, which enough food they were even giving. How about the host community that were taking care of the IDPs? Which intervention did they give to them? Like you come to maybe a Yaoundé or Douala, you come and see parents in the house, people have 15, 20 in the house in one room, sometimes 2 rooms, they are there. How were they helping even the host community to even see that they should intervene also to help these people that were running from villages and coming? Some were coming, some were leaving villages to come and live in town. They have never had the experience of township, they have never lived in township. They have never known how difficult things are there. So they came, and the family that was in the host community, they had to accommodate them. Do you see how difficult it was? And up to today, do you see how difficult it is to accommodate people that are coming from a village? First, there are some things, basically, they don't understand how town life is. You need to bear them. You need to. Many people went into depression because you see your family member coming to come and stay in your house, which you have put set on order in your house. But now, to accumulate those people coming from village, there's some things they don't know them, there's some basic things they don't understand about township, and they're coming to live inside your own house. And they neglected this particular host community also. That's what we're supposed to be looking about, the host community, the people who hosted those IDPs was neglected. There's not sufficient funds that were given to them. We're only targeting IDP, and how many of the IDP receive those salaries?
Okay, now the situation of IDPs, you have away from being a man of God, you run an association, the community development network. What have you seen on the field as concerning the condition of IDPs?
Thank you very much, Fabrice. When this crisis started in 2016, and like I said, the emergency relief came in probably around 2017. That's when they saw it, that was really a crisis. And we have been in the field, I've been even in suburbs, we've been at least conducting data analysis to see the need of intervention of the IDPs. We saw critical cases. And to tell you the truth is that even some of those relief funds that was coming and those materials that were going, they were not even meeting those people in concern. Those IDP, actually those that were really suffering and left their farm, left their family, left their job, left their houses, businesses. Some of the time when I see, like in Northwest region, some of the mattresses that came, we saw some offices having about people in good position that they were not even IDP, packaging mattresses and packing in their office, packing in their house.
Taking bags of rice.
Taking bags of rice. Even the whole community that was supposed to be receiving those things that I'm saying, some of those material was ending in some big offices or big individuals' hands. Why the people were suffering, I need to see when we go out. I work with Intersource in those days. I work with the Plan International. I work with the Canada, a faith religious organization with the Catholic Church. But you see those people who come to church, come and see the real IDP, they will be sleeping in the church. They will go in to receive those materials. They will not even be waiting for them to really receive. People in high places who have connection, we don't see them carrying the things and wait. And those people, and
they will share to some of their family members who are where to do. I'm
telling them, we're going to some families and you see them having 5-6 mattresses. When somebody is there, they only have a mat, just common mat, because they came a time we're even sharing with mat to these IDPs. Not talk about shelter. Did you even talk about shelter? There's no intervention for shelters. And that's why they make the situation become terrible. And even Frank is saying here, some of these cases that we are seeing now, these dangerous cases, we are seeing the kind of violence that we are seeing. Some of the case of violence is because of the result of some of these things. I saw a small child kidnap a small child of about 15 years that kidnapped a child of 5 years to go and act ransom. A child of 15 years. Where are all these things of kidnapping?
All minors.
Minors, all of them are minors. How will you even deal with those type of cases? And where have they learned all this type of thing? It's because of this crisis. They have seen how they kidnap and take for ransom. How have we, I'm asking most of the time, the international body, they have done their own part, they have played their little role in their own little corner. Even the government have tried in its own little corner, but there is still more to be done. Because if we don't tackle this very well, when I went to the field, what we saw in the field, there's discrimination first. And the rightful people to take over this responsibility, let me tell you, it's not government official or those people in high places. They're supposed to entrust this in the hands of civil society organizations, NGOs, because they have been taught, they have been trained how to mitigate, how to identify these people that are IDP, how to identify these vulnerable people. But when you take somebody who has never known suffering, somebody who has never known how to sleep a day without food, somebody who has never known how to stay in the rain and sun without having a shelter, and you send him to the field to go and intervene in cases like this, how do you think that the person will cope to do it? You don't know. But people in organization, we select people that are in those crisis zone. We select people who have already suffered those types of things. They know what it means to stay a day without a meal. So those are the type of people we select them and we give them basic training to go back to the field and select these particular individuals for them to achieve or to receive this goodwill donation from individuals who are helping them to be fine in the crisis that they are. But today we see that most times you see people who will go, people come with big cars to come and share IDP. Sometimes you even intimidate them. Because when you come in that kind of way, to intimidate them, they look like, oh, you are coming because you are fine.
And maybe some of them would think that you have taken what belongs to them and you bought your cars and
Exactly, and
you are coming to abuse them.
Thank you very much. So you always see that when they come and to receive and they see other big responsible people, sometimes you come and see somebody who is taking the IDP stuff, you are even shocked that car can this person come and park car and then parking rice in a good comfortable car like this and going, which IDP are you going to feed? So you intimidate the vulnerable people. Sometimes that's why you see sometimes when they announce that this particular organization or this particular people or the government is coming to give gifts to the IDP, nobody turn out. Those IDP they don't turn out, because they discover they go and sit under the so-called rain, and at the end of the time maybe they hit them 2 kilos of rice. Why people be carrying bags of rice and going back home?
Those who don't need it.
Those who don't need it. And sometimes I ask one person, well, sometimes I was sharing, I saw one mother I came, I really asked that, do you have conscience? If they will give you this bag of rice, you are carrying it home, and look at that child, the family, look at that mother with 5 children sitting there. You are carrying things, you really have conscience. Because this thing is not for people who are well to do. Instead, we're supposed to bring it for us to help these people who are vulnerable, who don't have to eat. When you see them suffering, you carry this back and you are going and you are threatening people, how do you feel?
Okay, before I bring in the other gentlemen on the panel, I mean, in the early days of the crisis, we saw the government carrying out, I mean, always constantly on the field to do distribution of mattresses, distribution of other food items. I mean, how will you measure what is happening now? We don't see them constantly in the field, Apostle.
The problem which is there is that, for instance, of recent we heard about the Minister of the Interior Administration receiving goods from China worth about billions for the IDPs for the Northwest and Southwest. And when we hear those announcements, we are expecting to know how the distribution will be made. But unfortunately, that some of the time, I want to say that they use this in some type of campaign for political benefit.
So now that election is coming, because we should expect constant bags of rice.
Since we have heard about this particular food that entered the nation, we have not heard how the distribution will be taking place. We have not heard how they will even share it. But when you see that election is coming closer, when during the time of election, you will see them going out to the field to distribute this thing. How will it benefit that common man? Because they know that this political strategy. Even the IDP that is there that need those needs, maybe he won't come out because maybe he will see that this is not my party. These people are coming from this particular party, and they are coming because of their election campaign. But now this is the time that I think that this was the best time to go out and do this thing when even the school resumption is coming. I was just talking with Frank there. If you go out to the street, you don't know that this is a rancher collect coming. The place is very dry. Go to the market, they are not buying books as before, as we used to see. They are not sewing uniforms.
They are not hearing of back to school campaigns in the Northwest and Southwest.
At the more end. So this is the time we're expecting that this sharing, they should even go into it and look at also the educational situation of the IDPs. Look of the fees to also reduce how to the cost. But they are not talking anything concerning that. Which this is the major moment that people could feel the impact of what the IDP is supposed to receive as a help from the government, from international organization. There are children that where we are saying that places are dry. Parents are not buying books. There's no money. Then how about the IDP that they already have means? How the people have displaced from their business, from their homes, from their farms, that are the means of their own livelihood. So now, if this is the time I believe that organizations and individuals or government institutions are supposed to go down to the field and say, okay, for the IDPs from the Northwest and Southwest, we are going to give this type of subvention for them. For their school need, we are giving them books, we are giving them bags, we are giving them this. But after when all these things will pass, you will see them coming out because election is coming. Well, and begin to say, oh, IDP should come out and receive this, IDP should come out and receive it, and sometimes they only want to use those platforms for their political issues.
Okay, thank you, Apostle Gilbert. I think it's high time we bring in Alois on the panel. It's been a long wait, and Alois, thank you very much for being part of the show today. You're coming from the MP3 party. You're coming at a time when Apostle Gilbert is just accusing political parties of always looking at the needs of the local population whenever elections are coming up. After elections, they are nowhere to be come. But when elections are coming up, you find various political parties organizing various giveaway, various back to school, various end of year gifts to Cameroonians. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Fabrice, and good afternoon to Mr. Padis and the millions of televiewers watching at us throughout the world. It's a pleasure for us to be here and to talk about this very important, very pertinent issue. That's just overdue. It's normal time. We it's always very sad to be talking about the Anglophone crisis, and especially talking about the victims of this particular crisis. The MP3 Party, the Movement for Patriotism and People's Prosperity, has always stood alongside these people, the victim of this crisis, and we always look for, in one way or the other, solutions, concrete solutions, to bring about a perennial stop of this particular crisis. And while bringing propositions, because we are not yet in power, while bringing up propositions, we try to our level best with the limited resources we may be having at the moment to also bring our own way, in our own manner, to our own help, our own assistance in solidarity with the victims of this particular crisis. It might be termed sometimes, many political parties do that, many organizations do that, and it might be termed as being political or being social, but the truth is that these people, the IDPs, just like the other vulnerable class of our country, are in need of assistance, and the government might not be doing as much, or it might be doing things, but might not be doing as much as what is required. There's a big gap between the demand and what is actually supplied in terms of assistance. So it's but normal that coming in this particular period, those who are really having the people of Cameroon at heart may organize themselves to have outreach in order to assist this particular group of people.
I mean, during around 2017, the government created an emergency fund and placed under the supervision of the ministry, or under the guidance of the Ministry of Territorial Administration. Of course, it was supervised by the Presidency of the Republic. We have not heard anything again about the emergency fund.
It's quite surprising. There was an 8-month emergency humanitarian plan that was actually being elaborated and put in place by the government in order to come into as an assistance to the vulnerable people or the victims of this particular crisis. But we are still waiting, and reports from the IDPs we have been in contact with, bringing us negative apprehensions, negative opinions about how it has been run and the impact it has had for the people. So while we are looking at ways in order to alleviate the immediate needs caused by the crisis, I think it's right time for us to look for a perennial solution for this particular crisis, so that we may not be solving only the effects, but we should hit on the root cause and really bring about that particular heart-to-heart dialogue with the people that will bring a perennial peace. Because we may be solving the consequences, but if the root cause is not being solved, we might just be delaying the occasion for having another humanitarian crisis, which we don't need at all in our country.
Okay, Frank, according to statistics, we have over 1 million Cameroonians who fled the country as a result of this crisis. They are, some of them are in neighboring Nigeria, and they too, they are living in, precarious conditions. It's better you suffer in your country than suffering abroad. The pain might be too much.
Well, it's just like talking about those who are falling bush. It's almost a similar. Have that feeling that being out of Cameroon helps them in one way or another, maybe mentally. In life, everything being equal, if your mental state is not alright, there's practically nothing you can achieve. So for so long, some might have consumed the negativity part of it that maybe comes from being a Cameroonian. When you look at the environment, economic wise, nothing seems to sit on its right position. Frustration and left and right. Some people just have that feeling that, let me go out, let me take some fresh air. Maybe
how fresh is the air?
That is the problem. But I am looking at the cause. Yes, I am looking at the cause. That could be the cause. But now when they get there, the reality is different. Of course, we know the reality. Others find themselves doing things that they could never do here. Never, helping people in old people's homes, doing certain things that they never thought they would ever do while in Cameroon. But everything being equal, you talked about how our institutions have been managing this issue. I think it will be intellectually dishonest to say that our institutions were not, some institutions were not put in place for this, because you know, in trying to manage this Anglophone crisis, the government created the PPRD, that's the Presidential Plan for Reconstruction and Development, and they had three main objectives. The first is recovery, the second was reconstruction, and the last is development. So they started with recovery, and at the level of recovery, we mostly saw them partnering with councils to reproduce, because in the process of the Anglophone crisis, many people lost some of their certificates, birth certificates, ID card, and all the like. So they were kind of non-existent in terms of documentation. So that was one of the first things that the PPR did, of which some people still have a problem because some people didn't really feel them in the field. Excuse me. And secondly, they started with reconstruction. Reconstruction, among the items of reconstruction, we have the Babaju Bamenda Road that was being sponsored by the PPRD. We have the ongoing ring road in the Northwest region. We might have noticed it passing through Cambe. The Cambe stretch is very popular. That's what everybody sees concerning that. And recently, because of the crisis, many CDC workers, of course, some were IDP, some went into being IDPs and all the like. Some remained without salaries for too long. I think CDC workers had about, they were at 20-something months without unpaid salaries. Of unpaid salaries. And so part of the funds for PPID, we remember, I think a couple of months back, the Minister of Finance tried to clear, though we don't have maybe the proof or examples from some of those workers, if they actually received their arrears in its entirety. That's another debate. But nonetheless, these are some of the things that the PPID has been doing for some time. But nonetheless, we still do not feel their impact. Maybe I can talk about it maybe because I have seen a couple, but the Cameroonians lambda, like they say in French, the citizens who are in the field, some of them are yet to really feel it. I think what many citizens have felt directly are some safety net measures brought forward by local NGOs, like Apostle was saying. I think if you actually ask some IDPs or some Cameroonians who are coming from the Northwest or the Southwest, who have been, who lost a lot of things because of the crisis, their homes. If you ask them that, who has actually helped you the most, they will tell you about a good number of them. There was even a time we had Doctors Without Borders. They helped a lot. Those guys, I remember, because I can narrate the entire process of the crisis, because you lived it. From day one up to today, I lived the crisis. So Doctors Without Borders, they actually helped Cameroonians in the Northwest region. You can imagine that maybe there's an incident, somebody has an accident, or somebody was attacked and abandoned. They had a number, a free toll number. You just call, their ambulance will come and pick you up. They will not only pick you up, they will take you to a hospital and treat you for free. And of course, we have women in labor on this, that movement of a protect. Exactly, because of the ghost towns. They will treat you for free, and then after treatment, they will give you some money for you to go home and maybe start something for yourself. But after some time, I don't know, they had issues with the administration, and they were forced to leave the area. I mean, these are circumstances that made some of these IDPs in the Northwest and the Southwest frustrated, because these guys were really helping them. And then we have other safety net measures that were brought forward by some NGOs, in that they were depositing money in their Momo accounts. I think up to today, some people still have that. You just sit in the morning. While the organization was there, if you registered with the organization, every month they send you something, Yamumo, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. It all depends on the agreement that they had and on the funding that they had. So I think in terms of implementation or the infrastructure surrounding the management of IDPs, I want to believe that NGOs have done more than the state itself, because the state actually created 3 institutions. You have PPID, I just spoke about it. You have DDR. DDR, which is that, how do they call it again? Disarmament and
demobilization.
Exactly. That, that was receiving some of these ex-combatants of AMBA and so on and so forth, rehabilitate them and see how they can send them back to the society. But everything being equal, the figures of the DDR are conflicting. They will tell you so far they have received 3 million ex-combatants. But those in the field will tell you that when you look at the number, it's not maybe up to. I mean,
in Buea, you used to find some of these guys. They will leave their center and they enter the neighborhoods and they start begging for money.
Exactly, because seemingly they had a lot of difficulties while they maybe not having enough food and all the like. So some of them were actually trying to get away from it. And then also we had the special status.
Yes.
But now, how many people even know what the special status is all about? How many people
asking how special is the special status?
How special is the special status actually? But when we look at it, of course, the special status was drawn from the Constitution. I think Article 62, which says that in the event of some peculiarities, the administrative organization of the state may change, in the sense that some regions may have some specificities. So that's where it was drawn, because from the 2019 Major National Dialogue, we realized that federalism was kind of a no-go. And so at some point they said, okay, I think it was a lawyer who remembered that there was an article like that in our constitution, and that's how they came out with it. And among the elements of special status, the very first one was that aside the other advantages that come with the creation of regions, those for the Northwest and the Southwest, they are called regional assemblies. And these regional assemblies, they come with, they say they will participate in, the development of educational policies considering the specificity of the Northwest and the Southwest. That is the English system education. And then we also have traditional rulers, because back in the days, the House of Chiefs, back in the days, our chiefs were very powerful people, so they decided to bring them in. And thirdly, they said these assemblies are going to have the powers to develop what they call development authorities in these various regions. But now, how do we feel? Who has actually felt the impact of these regional assemblies? How has these regional assemblies helped in solving?
Maybe it's too early to ask.
No, it cannot be too early. Since 2020 that these regions were created, they are in their second mandate now. They're in their second mandate. But nonetheless, we don't really see, aside maybe of the structures that they have built for themselves, that is what they're building.
The last time we hosted a member of the regional assembly on this particular platform, he made mention that out of the 71 competencies that are to be transferred from Yaoundé to the various regions, for example, in the Northwest region, just 4 competencies have been transferred to them, which means that there are still institutions who are holding tight, who do not want to transfer competencies, because they fear that everything that is being done at the level of Yaoundé might end at the region, and consequently this might remove food from people's mouth.
That is the general problem with decentralization, because 2 or 3 years back we decided in the finance bill that we are going to be sending 15% of the state budget to councils. But where we are now, we are at less than 10%, less than 10, meaning many councils today are still having problems financially because the state is yet to actually decentralize or transfer the resources that they were supposed to have. So it's the same problem with the regions.
The so much talked about decentralization in Cameroon is largely on paper.
Largely on paper, because if I'm to talk about decentralization to you today, you discover that many of the aspects are still lacking. Look at regions, for example. Do you know that presidents of regional councils are unable to recruit workers? They do not yet have the powers to recruit. You can imagine.
Recruitment.
Well, everything comes from Yaoundé, as they say. If you go to the regional council of the central region, for example, you see they have bought trucks that could be used for development. These caterpillars, nivelés, and all the like, front head loaders. But now they are unable to recruit drivers in such a way that if you have...
But why do you buy a truck without having a driver?
Well, they were anticipating that they will have the powers to recruit, but unfortunately the state is still blocking them on that. We do not know why. So many of those things, I mean, aside the transfer of competencies, many of those things still come. And when that happens, what happens?
It's funny that someone will anticipate to have a driver and go and buy the car. Is it important to have a driver before buying the car, or buying a car and looking for a driver?
No, I think financially, when it comes to cost, what is most important is getting the truck. In terms of cost, because with driver you can get at any time, but you cannot get the truck at any time.
Now that it's difficult to find
a driver. Of course, that is an institutional problem. It's not difficult to find a driver. The drivers are there, but they cannot recruit as at now because they have been blocked at the level of Yaoundé and many others. You have mayors. Mayors can only recruit from category 6 downward, meaning people with O levels. And at the same time, you expect councils to have human resources. Because the mayor will recruit from 0 to 6, from 6 to maybe 10 or 12. You must have the authorization from the minister. Meaning if the mayor actually wants to recruit an engineer, an architect, or somebody to help him in his developmental projects within his municipality, he needs authorization from Yaoundé. So these are some of the things that are limiting decentralization in Cameroon, not to talk about special status, because the special status, I think one of the only things we've seen in special status is the fact that the Public Independent Conciliator, at least they have been doing a lot of work at that level, because the initial objective of the Public Independent Conciliator was to solve problems between councils and the people. Meaning, if you as an individual, you have an issue with the council, or maybe the council has not paid your salaries, the council, has abusively sacked you, like we say it locally, you can go to the Public Independent Conciliator and complain to him, and he sees what to do. So I think from now, in terms of impact of special status, it's only the Public Independent Conciliators that have been, trying to do some work at their level.
At least that is a good thing from there. Of course, in Cameroon, it's often said that the machinery grants, slowly but surely. Of course, many Cameroonians wish that it should take time because it might be slow and many more wrong things will happen. Now, Apostle Gilbert, we are still talking about the internally displaced persons, and we will go back a little bit to look at, he talked about the reconstruction plan which was launched by the government of Cameroon, and a lot of partners are in the reconstruction plan. As somebody who has been, constantly on the fields with your non-governmental organization, can reconstruction be very possible when the guns are still smoking?
Fabrice, before something concerning the external issue. Like for example, they were talking about the people like who was in Nigeria, who flee from Nigeria. I want to use the opportunity to say that the level I was in Agoja is one of the settlement camp around Cross River State that Cameroon was there. When they talk about settlement camp, that was one of the best settlement camp. When we visited Agoja, I discovered that they were what we call shelter. They constructed shelter for the people that came, and they were living in the camp. And with this type of initiative that they were living in the camp, we could be able to help them. And that's why I discovered that most Cameroonians have been out of the country. Most of the Anglophone that went out of the country was through that camp. It was through the road of Nigeria.
So they decided to be IDP so that they can escape.
Most people left here to go there to be IDP. When we went to that camp, we saw thousands of Cameroonians that was there. And activities that was there you could imagine that was a country by itself, because the type of activities that we saw there, and when they were coming to give their help, they were able to meet the people, because that was already a settlement camp. And that was some certain things that I thought that maybe in the reconstruction, as we are saying, or intervention in this IDP, there was supposed to be maybe a settlement camp, even like in Yaoundé, in Douala. Construct a particular, we have vast land, construct a particular space just for them, so that they'll be able even to create a school in that environment. Because in that camp there, we are talking, there were schools, children were going to school. So if like in Yaoundé or other place, other region that were with this internal displaced was kept, they could give shelter. They did not see it that it would take long. That's the problem. If they would have put up a settlement camp to build shelter for them, they'll be able to intervene for these people, because they will know that these are where
at least we imagine that nobody thought that the crisis would take this long, but in 5 years, why couldn't they do it?
That is the fact, because we are in 10 years now, because in 2 years or 3 years they could have done this. Okay, now for instance, like, to answer your question now, if you look at it critically, you see that you cannot be reconstructing when they are still destroying. How can you be reconstructing when the crisis is still ongoing? Okay, there are some structures. Let me call the example with my case in Bali. We have reconstructed the grandstand, right? But just few months ago, they burned it down. So how many times they have reconstructed the same grandstand and they have burned it down? So how can you be reconstructing something when the crisis have not been over? The people are still there to destroy.
We have had reports of equipments, or reconstruction equipments which have been burned down. We've had conferences and mayors, and some mayors have equally said that they have not been able to execute the state budget because the security situation is still very fragile.
Yeah, so if you look at if you see like the reconstruction, the ringway that he's talking about in the northwest that was taking place, that was something that would have been done long ago, but it was delayed because some of the construction worker was being kidnapped, and some of the machines was burned. And even the town that they are even struggling now, the city mayor is struggling now to reconstruct the town. They were supposed to have been done long, but because the workers were being kidnapped and all that, so we cannot be talking about reconstruction at this moment. We should talk about how to intervene in this IDP and give them settlement and make them to become independent where they are. Because we are talking about reconstruction when the crisis is still at its apex, it is still causing havoc. And then you see a reconstructing what? When the people
we have ministers who, whenever they visit the various regions, they come back and they say the situation is under control.
Fabi, I always tell you that what will you expect them to say? Do you want them to lose their job? They are going there because if they say everything.
At times it's not a matter of losing your job; it's a matter of saying the truth.
But let me tell you something. One of the things that we have to understand is that the government in place and the situation in this country now is that people have already seen their heart with hot iron, like the Bible says. They have seen their heart with hot iron, because to tell you the fact and the truth is that, like we were saying, the level of rape and the level of dismiss of female gender in this country. What is happening? I don't know ministers are in charge of that particular domain, but like you were saying, you see most of the time it will be civil society organization or NGO that go in first to intervene, to see into it that you put some measures in place. Where is the government institution that is responsible for those things? They are keeping quiet. So you should know that in Cameroon now, some of our leaders, they have decided to put the hot iron in their heart. They are hardened. They don't want to hear even anything that would destabilize even their interest in that position.
However, there's no normal person who can actually argue or debate about what is happening in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, because we have had administrators, we have had divisional officers being kidnapped and killed, we have had mayors being shot, at close range during public events, we have had members of parliaments being kidnapped and killed. We have had thousands and thousands councillors, this happening. So it will be dishonesty of the highest order for someone to say that the situation is under control when we basically know that there is a 2 weeks lockdown that has been imposed by somebody somewhere.
That's why I'm telling you that. But still yet you see here that everything is under control. So what are we telling ourselves? That they have seen their heart with hot iron. They don't want to accept the reality. Their conscience have been compromised, because we are seeing everything that is happening. Like, for example, there's lockdown coming up. Okay, like for instance, let us talk about.
Well, it is rumor. Let's not be as if let's not be as if we are the one announcing.
We are not saying
it is a rumor that is.
It's nothing new.
There's nothing new.
Yeah, but it should not be. It should not be as if it's being used announcing. It's a rumor.
Yeah, it's a rumor. But now let me tell you something. People are already making arrangements. Some other IDP will see increase again in Yaoundé. Some will see increase in Douala. We are in the field. We are in reality. We are in the society. We are the society, civil society organizationally that we know what we are saying. People are already making connection now. Oh, can I have a space in Yaoundé because I've been coming for these 2 weeks? Can I have this? So it's something. It's no more a rumor. The people on ground know that no rumor. It's us now. We are here because we are in the safe city. We are in the safe environment. But people who are on ground, they are already aware. They are already making arrangements. And let me tell you something about also the construction you are talking. There were many schools that were burned. There were many schools that were shut down. Are those schools going on? Now, what is going on now in Northwest mostly is community schools or private schools. Are government schools officially? But
those community schools write government exams.
They write government exams, that is true. But now the government schools are not going. So if you as a minister or a leader goes there and say that all things is under normality, everything is normal, is it factual? Is it true? Because we don't want to say everything is going well. Let us first start with education. That was where the crisis started. Are the schools, the government schools, are they resumed? Are they writing the government exams as you are saying? Or are they private or the community schools that they were created? Are they the one now helping the community? And that is why I said most of this initiative that was done even by the government, they were supposed to work with a non-governmental organization. They want you all to see that the executive will go well. But so far as is the government or those individuals who are responsible that are in the government offices that they know they are already corrupt, the people already know that they are corrupt. Anything coming from them is not accepted because they know it will not reach them. But they have people who they trust them. They have people who are trusted that if this thing comes through them, they'll be able to receive even a dime. So like he was saying, that organization that created the opportunity of this Momo Pay, and they had even bank card. Caritas did that, and up to this, like some people are still benefiting from them. What was wrong for the government for those initiatives to create those type of opportunities? Who they have the power, they can just decide. Okay, there are 2 banks. There will be 2 banks that will be paying.
One of the problems that we face is the fact that we look at the government too much. We only want the government to do it. The government to do it.
Because
the government cannot build a nation alone.
That's what we say.
If we look at some of the developed nations,
we have non-governmental organizations. They can use them. Why are they not using them? Because they will not be able to be accountable.
If you look at some of the developed nations we have today, I mean, it's not. For example, America is not standing on the government. It's standing on private.
Private. Does the government use the people who are available? Does the government able to use those people who are available? The organizations are there and they are doing the work well, and the people know that they do it. Why should the government not trust them with those funds? Because the problem is that when you trust them with those funds, those corrupted individuals will not have opportunity. Because in organization there's accountability. When you go down in the field and you do your work, you must give account. But with the government institution,
there is also accountability. There is also accountability in the government.
We did not hear what our local community developer was telling us here. He was telling he's in the field, he's working on that.
Yeah, but you don't take opinions as facts. You don't take opinions as facts. You can't say that there's no accountability. Now, Alois, when materials, when goods that are destined for internally displaced persons don't get to them, who should be held accountable?
Well, if the source of the good is elucidated, the primary people supposed to come to help or come and support the IDPs or any vulnerable classes of governments. So the government has the sole responsibility, primary responsibility, helped by maybe the non-governmental organization. The government has a primary role to actually alleviate the pains or sufferings of these people. So they coordinate these particular actions. We have seen many cases. Maybe we just need to talk about the COVID period where we had many bags of rice offered to us, and that we have never seen a video of people receiving it, the people who are really need receiving them. So the people should be held accountable and the people who are supposed to or who have the sole responsibility or the primary responsibility to coordinate the action. And unfortunately, it has become a syndrome in Cameroon because of the laxity and the impunity that are characterized most of the government actors. We have seen cases where some people have the courts or how do you call it, I think there is a special criminal court as the TCS have already elucidated a particular case where some people, well-known people, have been noted to be guilty of having embezzled up and down, but we have not had.
The audit bench.
Yes, the audit bench. Yes, have made some reports, and we have been informed that this particular person or this particular ministerial department have received this money, and then they have not accounted for it. But nothing has been done.
You cannot say nothing has been done because the country has not ended. The country is still moving ahead, and you might commit a crime today, and after 100 years, I mean, you are called for questioning.
Yes, but the delay.
Frank is a magistrate, if I may put it. He can attest that you can commit. It doesn't matter how long it takes for the action to take place.
Exactly, that the action is necessary to have a kind of promptitude in action, so as to dissuade those who may think that this is a way that you can get the money because of
it's necessary, but
impunity.
It's necessary, but we can't say that nothing has been done
so far. We can say we are still waiting for concrete measures, but the delay in these punitive measures have orchestrated that atmosphere where everybody thinks that he can get along with this particular this particular crime, and nothing is being done. I think even we take very firm decisions, we'll be able to dissuade many people who, unfortunately, seize the occasion to embezzle and to make themselves rich to the detriment of those who are really in need and those who are really supposed to benefit from this kind of help. So it's important, and we were talking just a few in the introduction of this particular panel that's about feminicide and infanticide, but have we had concrete actions? It's true, recently we have had condemnations, but have we executed to the end, or gone to the end of the execution of this particular sentence? I would like to talk about the criminal or the person held guilty of the crime of the killing of the little Divine Barga. We have had some sentence, I think, but have we really gone to the extent of executing the measure that were taken? So this particular laxity or slowness in executing. Yes, thank you. It was Bebe Matis who was sentenced to death, but yet we are still waiting for the execution, because that was the thing.
So do you expect them to come and tell you that they have executed?
It is a crime that has been highly mediatized, and it has brought up public concern. It's normal for dissuasive measures and also for informative measures to let the people know that we have sentenced this particular person to this particular punitive measure, and it has been applied.
Okay, we are talking about the situation of IDPs in Cameroon. We are barely a few weeks to back to school. Contrary in the past, we always have a serious campaign on air encouraging parents in the Northwest and Southwest to go to school, but the campaign seems to be dying down. Does it mean that the message of back to school that used to be championed by government and through various elites of various areas in the Northwest and Southwest regions, does it mean that it has finally achieved its objective?
Well, we can't say that, because the good thing is that some of the administrators themselves, when they come on TV, from time to time they say it's going, but timidly. At least some of them acknowledge that school is not 100% in most of these crisis-stricken zones. But everything being equal, we need to continue, to put efforts to see that we solve the problem. Because I think the issue here is this: you cannot be wanting to repair your ceiling when the roofing sheets are bad. Because that's what we are doing. We've created PPRD, we've created special status, we've created DDR. But now, the zinc there's still a hole on the zinc. So we are struggling to repair the ceiling. So no matter what you do to that ceiling, if you don't repair that zinc, water will always be coming down. And when the water keeps coming down, it will always destroy the ceiling. So that is it. All what we are saying here, if we do not solve the Anglophone crisis, we are just wasting our time. We will just be talking and talking and talking in vain. And to me, I believe that one of the easiest ways to solve this problem is genuine dialogue. Many have been talking about genuine dialogue. And that genuine dialogue should bear fruits maybe towards federalism. I think that's the bare minimum that we can have some peace, because to be honest with you, if you look at the crisis today, people may think that the crisis started in 2017. It didn't. It started far back as 1961 when we had the federal constitution. And after that federal constitution in 1961, in 1964, Dr. Bernard von Long, he wrote a letter to the head of state at the time, saying that the way I am seeing this thing going, the way it's going, is like we may have problems in the future, because we discovered that one side of the country was kind of neglected in a way. But nonetheless, the constitution was well written. If you look at the federal constitution of Cameroon, in its article 1, that is the one of 1960, in its article 1, it said two people came together. They left their olden identity and decided to come as one in the federal state. East Cameroon left the name La République.
As one and indivisible.
As one and indivisible. East Cameroon left the name that La République du Cameroon, while West Cameroon left the name Southern Cameroon. And they decided that, okay, we will have the Federal Republic of Cameroon. But what is the situation of today? We are back to the Republic of Cameroon. It's so seemingly, it's like former East Cameroon has assimilated Southern Cameroonians. I mean, these are some of the frustrations that are coming up. Also, if you look at Article 9 of that federal constitution, it stated clearly that the head of state will be assisted by a vice president, and the origins were clearly stated. He said if the head of state is from former East, the vice should come from the West. And if the head of state is from the West, the vice should come from the East. But where are we today with that? Nothing. Okay, we go again. Article 18, that tried to solve this minority problem that we have. It says that because each of them had their various parliaments, East Cameroon had 40 members, while West Cameroon had 10 members. So that they solved the problem in that the constitution stated that if a law is to be passed, if even all the 40 parliamentarians of former East Cameroon were to vote it, if not up to 5 members of former West Cameroon did not vote that law will not go through. Meaning the kind of said that it's not about the crowd, it's about the people, because right now it's all about the crowd. They say democracy, the highest number who wins the vote. So
and in the crowd there is party discipline,
and in the crowd there's party discipline, and so on and so forth. So you discover that these are things that we didn't respect. And conclusively, if you look at Article 47 of that same constitution, it said that that constitution was not to be modified. That constitution was not to be dismantled for whatsoever reason. But where are we today? So these are the frustrations that led to the Anglophone crisis in which we are today. And so the proposition I'm making is that all of these things we are saying here about IDPs, about military men and women dying in the battlefield for nothing, because for me it's for nothing. When you are fighting with your brother and you are killing each other, nobody is benefiting. Nobody is actually benefiting. So left to me, it's a senseless war. We should see how we can come together and solve it, so that we'll stop talking about IDPs.
People return to their homes.
People return to their home. We'll stop talking about some menial things, about rice. I mean, after we're almost close to 60 years of independence, should we still be talking about issues of rice, sharing, I don't know, Maggi and salt, mensasis? We have gone above that. So everything being equal, we should see how we can come together as men and women of Cameroon and see how we discuss. We remove our titles and put aside. We remove our iniquities, differences, we put aside, and see how we can discuss as brothers, because everything being equal, we are equal. Above every other thing, all Cameroonians are equal. No Cameroonian, no tribe is above the other. I think to an extent that is one of the causes of the Anglophone crisis, and even one of the causes of is seemingly is like we are forcing living together, because the problem where even the living together is the eating together. That is where the problem is. So when you
live together but we don't eat together.
So when you live together and don't eat together, how do you expect the other person to be happy? The person is frustrated, and we get to the effects are all what we are talking about here. IDPs, refugees left and right, feminicide, infanticide, rapes everywhere. People don't have. How do you expect a nation of almost 70% of underemployment? They say the angry man, the hungry man is an angry man, and the idle man is a devil's workshop. So to me, we should solve the problem structurally to reduce some of these issues plaguing the society, because we can talk from now till tomorrow about IDPs, but the solution is not the talking. The solution is for us to solve the underlying problem, which is the Anglophone crisis.
Just like as Somden Balemi said, that we are here talking.
Yes.
Of course, I want to find out from you. I mean, we've had a lot of persons of high timber and caliber talk as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned. We have had, diplomats from different countries. We have had even the Pope comes to Cameroon and talk. We have had various commissions created, but the crisis continues. Who does not actually want this dialogue to go ahead? Because it appears there is somebody who does not want dialogue to go ahead. There is somebody, or there are people who don't want the Anglophone crisis to be solved. They prepare to buy a few bags of rice and give to IDP than looking at the core problem, like you put it, like than repairing the roof.
Yes, it all boils down to selfishness, to self-interest. I mean, we may have echoes of those who maybe do not want to solve the Anglophone problem. We cannot call names here because
yes.
So we only hear two, but the underlying question is this: for how long? I mean, we should be humane to an extent. We should know that the fact that we are chopping today does not mean we may chop forever. This life, like they say, life no balance. So tomorrow you never know where you may find yourself. I think that's the underlying problem that Cameroonians have. We always think, especially those who are in public service, they always think that as they are there, they'll be there forever. And that's the reason why few years or few months after most of them go on retirement, they die. It's not for nothing, because they felt like
they own the place.
How can you own a government institution? And it's because of that liberty that the powers that be allowed them there, because seemingly the main power himself too has been there for too long. So the others say, but master, if the patron is still there, me too, I should be there.
The pot cannot be calling the kettle black.
Of course. So like they say, you cannot stream, they say water the dirty from up. So if we have to solve the problem, the leader himself should lead the way. Because I don't think that you go and be telling somebody who has been sub-director in an office in a ministry for 10 years to leave when the director who is there has been there for 20 years.
Why do we keep looking at the leader for basic change? This director in this office or this individual in this office should lead the change. You must not keep looking at the top.
When you look at Cameroon with experience in terms of administration, it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. You may go, it's very difficult to do the right thing. Actually, let me tell you a story. Those who go to ENAM, they will testify. While you are in ENAM, you receive.
Unfortunately, we don't have any of them here.
Yes, no, but I'm sure maybe some are watching. I just want to give. While you are in ENAM, you go through rigorous training. You start from military training. That military training, the aim of that military training is to kill that civilian spirit in you, that stubborn spirit, that you should learn to respect hierarchy. That's the first thing. And then after that, you get to classes begin, meaning you are supposed to be in school latest 7 till 5:30 every day, whether the teacher is there or not. You are supposed to be there seated. I'm telling you about the training. So imagine now you leave school, the very first day of internship, your spirit is still, you are still fresh. You are used to getting up, you are used to getting to service at 7. But the very first day of internship, You go to whatever ministry you have been posted to, that same 7 o'clock, the cleaner is not there, the gate man himself is not there. They open the door from 10 o'clock. Automatically it kills all the training you have received. So what happens? You start following suit, and then when you want to bring some changes, they start saying that you are a sabitu. They start saying some type of things that discourage you, and of course when you try to persist in it, you start seeing other things coming in, metaphysics and all the like. I don't want to get into into that aspect, but that is the reality, and everything is coded. You cannot see, for example, we live in a situation where even if a road is bad in your own quarter, you must have the authorization from the DO in your own quarter, meaning you have the money, you have the resources, okay, to repair a road in your quarter, but you cannot do it because it's not automatic that the DO will give you the authorization to repair that road. It's not automatic. So I mean, how
to check whether you have political motives?
That is the question. But everything is political.
Government is not a member of any political party.
That is it. We have politicized everything in Cameroon, and it's rather unfortunate. Things that we are supposed to be scientific about, we bring in politics. Things that we are supposed to be, use our conscience, use the law, we bring in politics. So all of this, just to answer that your question, that is some of the reasons why the small person in an office is difficult for a small person in an office to bring a change. Very, very difficult in the Cameroonian context right now.
Okay, Apostle David, the one thing I know about you is that you're somebody who loves the policies of President Paul Biya. I hope I'm correct to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, will you say the government has an interest, a genuine interest, to handle the Anglophone crisis?
Fabrice, I will tell you that, like you said, I love the policy of President Paul Biya. Yes, actually, but one of the facts is that there are people who are not willing, like what Frank was saying, that individuals, not about the head of state, that individuals who are not willing for this crisis to finish. Why do I say so? Because if all of us we agree here that people go to the field and come and give wrong result, how will you expect a leader when they have like you put it in the local terms, a farmer have a leader, he send a leader go to this particular village and look what I'm hearing from here is true, and then the Chinda go and come and give a wrong report. What will you expect the response to do?
But if you are in Chinda and they keep giving you wrong reports for up to 10 years, then there should be a problem.
There is a problem. That is the truth. That's where we are holding also, like sometimes we hold our leader, sometimes
the commander-in-chief.
Yeah, we sometimes, all of us, we are only pointing the finger to him because he should do something. Like one of the things that we've been saying is that actually, like for now, we have been expecting that the government should have been changed, because I think that he himself is aware that there are wrong people around him. He's very much aware about that, and that's why he's saying this mandate is for the youth and for women, and he wanted to also give trust to the youth. But up to now,
the women started it by lifting the outcome.
Yeah, and those are the signs.
Which means that the president was in another realm.
Yeah, those are the signs that we are seeing. But the fact is that probably something is wrong. Actually, the government is standstill. Sometimes I want to say that there's a standstill in certain situations, because even with the case that you have just quoted, the women outcome.
Is it spiritual? The stance is spiritual or physical?
What I want to say is that it's about old age too. Somebody is old too. You cannot expect somebody that is old to have the same age.
However, we are not talking about age.
Yeah. No, when we talk about old, we are not talking about age. We are talking about also situations that are on ground. When certain things have been kept in place for so long and it's not executed, it becomes not and void. Like for example, we have created institutions that have created so many things, and it become unproductive, but which it has been there. Meaning that we need to have a changes.
I mean, Cameroon has close to roughly 54 ministers.
Yes.
And when you look at everything, these 54 ministers, will you say that all of them need to receive instruction from, the head of state before doing the right thing?
Frank was saying something here which maybe I think that you must have come to really get something there in the point he was saying. The structure in place, the way they have formed these people, the way they have formed them, all of them, they will tell you that by the instruction of the head of state, there is nobody who can execute anything by his own inspiration. That is not the truth. There's a system that is in place, which is a doctrine. I can put it now like a religious person, like it's a doctrine. Meaning that whatever you are doing,
Like for instance, only about this AFCON that just passed, the women AFCON. You heard that when it office like make a proposal, they want to bring the cup to the minister rejected that. No, it needs to go to the head of state first.
Of course, that's respecting protocol.
Good, but that's the structure we are talking about.
So he is the #1 sportsman.
Thank you. Meaning that there is nothing like, but example, but the Fecafoot already received the cup. The cup was already in the position of the Fecafoot, and the minister themselves was in Morocco. They came all with the cup. So something which is there that it was just a means of organizing. He was talking about organization, how we are going to present it to the head of state. So, but I want to tell you that everybody now. Let me tell you something. But
were you not happy at the beautiful reception that was finally accorded to the Lions? The minister did not want to take the stage at a time when. Remember, the head of state dispatched a high-level delegation to Morocco, and the minister was just part of the delegation. So it wasn't. The minister thought that being a professor of law and being someone who knows Cameroon so well, thought that it's very important that it's the head of state who has the power to receive this trophy, because when he receives, he's going to give the medals, and the minister did not have that power.
It is true, Fabrice, but in the past, we have seen other occasions that have passed through him. We have seen that they are working in collaboration. We are talking about collaborative act. Even is it anything that we need to write the letters? They could have just called his son. I believe that man also is his son. Remember. They have just given a call and say, no, this thing.
Remember, the president through the prime minister had earlier told Cameroonians and had earlier told the girls that I am waiting for you in Yaoundé. Yeah. That was clear signal for everybody to know that the president is very much interested in this trophy and he is going to receive it himself. He said it.
That is why you asked me a question. I'm asking you how this country is functioning, and you are already the one again contradicting how the country is functioning. Because that is how the country functions. They function by the authority of the head of state. So that people, like, for example, in the home, let me come to the home status. When you are in the home, you have like 4 boys, and everybody is fighting for successor. Every time they want to please you as a father. I am in the house. I know. I have been in the family sector. I understand those things. When they say when you want to do something, to please your mother or your father. When daddy said that you are the best, in fact, you want to increase the pressure. Yeah. That is what is happening in Cameroon now. Most of the leaders in Cameroon, they want to please the head of state. So whatever you are doing in the field, they want to make sure that the head of state.
So is it about pleasing the head of state, or Cameroonians?
That is the issue now, because they are pleasing the head of state and displeasing the Cameroonians, because they want to please somebody who is not even in the field to see what you are doing. That's why they will tell you that the road of this place have been tarred when the road is not tarred, because they know the head of state will not pass through that road. But you and I will be crying every day, which is the head of state is there to coordinate the affairs of the citizens of Cameroonians. But now he has given this mandate, and that's why he always said is that I have allocated powers to your people. He has given power, he has dedicated power to your people to solve their problem. So if your problem are not solved, meaning that the people that are there are responsible. And the problem we have now is because he, as a head of state, I think that it is good. He can be there forever. I don't have a problem with that. But there are some people, he can be there forever. But some people should change.
Because you like his policies.
Some people should be changed. Because, for example, we don't go to all villages to execute the plans. But there are some people that are in the government that are the ones responsible for the people that they are going to talk to them, as I was saying. They should be changed, because if you tell this man and the person is not working, we have other countries. I don't say that it should be a kingdom, but we have other countries that's a kingdom, that we have one leader forever and ever. But the country is going well. They are building, the society is going well. But I'm not saying that Cameroon should be like that because the constitution does not take so. But I'm saying that sometimes individuals should take responsibility for change. Don't only look at, the father is not changing, I will not change. The father is like this, I will not change. No, we should hold those people who know them responsible.
Of course, the father is not there by himself. He's there by the will of the Cameroonian people. It's not left to him, as someone said, he would have decided to go home. But the Cameroonian people have always, renewed their trust in him whenever there is election. I think when you talked of he can be there forever, I'm sure it did not go down well to Alois, who is coming from the MP3 party, and they had a candidate, Hiram Miyodi, during the 2025 presidential election. He was hoping that he could be the one to lead the youth. Alois, we are looking at IDPs, but we can't focus more on IDPs and leave the problem that has created this internally displaced. Like I said, we have over 1 million, close to 500,000 internally displaced persons who are living, in precarious conditions in the northwest, in different cities across Cameroon. We have young girls who have become prostitutes as a result of the crisis. We have young men who have become drug addicts. Some have become bandits involving themselves. Some have even died, and some people have died and they don't have the opportunity to go back to, to be buried where they come from. Now, how will you describe the response of the government? Do you see that willingness for the government? They have created various commissions. The Pope have come and spoken. Everybody have come and spoken. But on the ground, nobody seems to understand what is happening. Do you see any practical reality way out of the Anglophone crisis right now as we speak?
Thank you for that question. As you see the evolution of the crisis and the different response or propositions implemented by the government, you see that the crisis still continues, because it's a proof that whatever measures have been taken so far has not actually quenched the fire, has not been an effective response to the aspiration of the people, at least the vast majority of the people perpetrating this particular crisis. We have proposed, we had an agenda, a manifesto during the presidential election with President Samuel Iram Iudi. We proposed that the government organizes what we termed a national sovereign consultation that will be very inclusive, that all the stakeholders within this crisis will be invited at the table of dialogue. A dialogue that will be sincere without any precondition.
And of course, you are not the first to talk about the dialogue.
Exactly, but inclusive without any precondition. And we'll be able to talk about all these pressing issues, all these issues surrounding the particular crisis, and bring about the resolutions. But these resolutions will not be adopted immediately. Will be submitted to a referendum where all the people of Cameroon, all the people will have the possibility to air out their concerns, their opinion, and before these particular resolutions are adopted. I think it's right time for the government and all the stakeholders within this crisis to come together and have that discussion. We are a party who actually propose a manifesto that is grounded on federalism. We believe that this could be a way forward to bring to this a perennial end to this particular crisis, and solve pressing other issues that might escalate if we don't handle it properly. We have a country which is full of potential, but needs to be put into conditions that enable Cameroonians as well as the Cameroon as a country to develop. And if it has to pass through a federal system, then let it pass through a federal system. It has 10 years, it's too much. It is too much, and the suffering has just been more than what is supposed to be borne. I'm personally, I've been touched by this particular crisis. Half of my family has been touched on that, and we have had many testimonies of whatever has happened there. I think no Cameroonian, be he a francophone, let me just use the term, or an anglophone, would like this particular crisis to perdure. And I think if the government represents the people, if the government are for the people, they should be looking for a solution that is people-oriented, a solution that comes from the evolution, that comes from the concern of all Cameroonians. And this particular solution should be coming towards, should be an emanation of a consultation. A consultation is very inclusive, without, I insist on the fact that it should have no prerequisite or no pre-established restrictions. It should be an occasion for. It
should not be a dialogue where the resolutions have already been written
and then everybody just come as just a figurant. Or no, we should be given the opportunity to talk, and by allowing people to talk, I think, and taking all the resolutions very seriously, consulting with all Cameroonians through a referendum, I think we will be building the ground for a country that will be resilient, a country that will be set for perennial development.
Okay, at the onset of the crisis, there were key figures, Seseko Ayuk Tabe Julius, who was known as the president of, in quote, Ambazonia. They were arrested in Nigeria and brought to Cameroon. We saw other leaders coming up in the course of the crisis. As we speak, the president, Seseko Ayuk Tabe, of the Ambazonia, in quote, is serving a life sentence at the Nkondege Maximum Security Prison. We saw other activists coming up. But right now, if you were to ask who is in control, And if there were to be dialogue, who actually pulls the shirt for those boys at the moment?
It's quite unfortunate that this particular crisis has led to a form of multipolarism in terms of control, maybe on the side of the activists or let me call it the fighters, that side. And it's very difficult, we have to admit, to identify who we are supposed to dialogue with. But we can still have those leaders within the communities that still have a kind of a stronghold on their people. They can be, with the consent of the people, they can be sent as delegates. I'm very sure that the government, who has all the information possible, know exactly who are the different poles of control, and can invite them for a dialogue. I think we need to go beyond all the different other considerations and consider Cameroon first, and consider the people first, because this particular situation has caused a lot of victims, and we are not ready to make other victims. They have a very good service de renseignement. They have I think secret service who can actually identify who are the people, the different poles of power, and invite them, and they will find a solution. It's very possible. I'm very sure that the President of the Republic and all the governments know exactly where to strike in order to bring the people for a dialogue, and in order to find a perennial solution to this particular crisis. And we are all waiting for that. We are yearning for that. Cameroonian people are waiting for that, because enough is enough. 10 years is just too much, and we need to find perennial solutions. And whatever it may take, let it be implemented so that the people can live in peace and security, because the consequences are just devastating.
Of course, it's often said that when we want to end the war, we don't count the dead bodies strong. Thousands of IDPs have lost homes, they have lost, farms, they have lost businesses. Who pay for this?
Well, according to DDR, PPRD, the Presidential Plan for Reconstruction, all of these things have been taken care of in need. But since the crisis persists, it's difficult for them to do it. Just as Apostle was saying, is like putting the cart before the horse. I think we will have waited to solve this problem completely before engaging all of those actions. The actions are welcome, but they are not timely. The PPRD is welcome, it's not timely. That's the problem, because the PPRD had or has a budget of I think about 2,500 billion for the reconstruction of the Northwest and the Southwest. But how is it feasible? You see that it's not feasible, because there are so many villages
more than
today.
250 villages were burned down.
So many villages today that it's difficult to have access to them completely. How can you be reconstructing when they are destroying at the same time? Like Apostle gave the example of the grandstand in Bali. You put today, the next day they come and put it down. You put today, all of that, it makes it very, very difficult for reconstruction. Same with the IDPs, just as you were saying. Even if you are to reconstruct their houses, to be honest, most of them have changed dimensions. Their lives are not the same. That's what I mean, in the sense that they have become maybe too used to the various areas in which they are today. And some took it as an advantage,
to make life good.
To make life, like they say, every disappointment has become a blessing.
Last month I was in Douala, and I met a young man who is somewhere around the ball, and he says, he has made good life.
Exactly.
And he was saying that he has never been to Douala, but thanks to the crisis, he came to Douala, and he started a new life. At the moment, he's having business. He has constructed his house, and he don't even think that he'll go back again.
That is it. That is another point. Others too, thanks to the crisis in quotes, find themselves today in the United States of America. Thanks to the crisis, because when this crisis started, some people took it as a stepping stone, to seek for asylum. At the time, the Democrats were there, so it was very easy to grant them asylum at the time. It's true that for now Trump has come, it has become very difficult for some of them to get it. But nonetheless, at least people who never ever dreamt of, becoming Americans are gradually becoming Americans. Even though it's not maybe what they wanted at the beginning, but you see that to some it was a blessing. So what I'm saying is that we should do everything possible to solve the crisis first before we reconstruct, before we develop, or before we recover whatever thing we had lost. Because if you struggle today to try to recover and the next day they still come and destroy, I mean, some people for so long due to the crisis have not been able to go back to their villages. But the first time after that did not say after the crisis, the first time they went after they left from their villages, they were killed. But we cannot, we're talking about one of the issues the Anglophones talked about, marginalization and other development. You cannot be crying that your area is not developed at the same time you're burning down schools, you're destroying infrastructures that are already there. I mean, when roads are constructed, it is not President Paul Biya, who is not Minister Laurent Eso that will come and stay there, that will use the road. This is development for the local population. So it's high time too for those fighters to understand that development is not a member of any political party, development is not affiliated to any separatist camp, but development is for everybody. Exactly. I think what the point you just made from day one, that has been the naivety of these our boys, like we call them the Amber Boys, because from day one they will destroy and naively say we will fix them back. That's what many of them were saying when the crisis just started back in the days. They say we will spoil them, we will fix them. I mean, many of them fail to understand that taxpayers' money is for everybody. And then they want to even build a road, they say no, that money is coming from Yaoundé, forgetting to know that it's their money that they pay for taxes. I remember a young man was well beaten, well flogged because he was trying to arrange the road, and he was well beaten. I mean, all of these things, there's a lot of naivety in it, and to an extent, I mean, you cannot be saying that you are fighting for the people and they are those same people you are suffering. You yourself, you are actually the one punishing them in a way. Because when this thing started, after some time, kidnappings came in. I mean, grandmothers, grandfathers, those of us who are grassfield, you understand that, in fact, there are limits. Your parents, the older ones, your grandparents and so on. But these guys made it look as if it's a normal thing. That is where I actually had a serious problem with it. I mean, you go and you kidnap a phone, a chief, lay him very well. For what? A phone. You go and kidnap a grandfather, a grandmother. Even late Karinatumi at one point was kidnapped. Yes, a grandfather, a grandmother, and keep them in the bush for some time, beating them. Come on. I mean, even if God was with you at the beginning, he cannot be with you again. It's impossible. I think this is where we went wrong. And I don't want to say that it was manipulation, because many will say those guys were not educated and so on. But when you look at the guys that were leading, highly educated guys. Some have been arrested today. I think Ayabacho was arrested or something, yes. And others are having issues left and right. But nonetheless, you see that he's still persisting down. And one of the after numerous arrests. After numerous arrests. What we notice is that when a different activist is arrested, tomorrow another one crops up. Yeah, because just like those generals in Kut, when a general is killed, another one comes up from the blues. Yeah, exactly. There's actually no excuse to that, but everything being equal is a fundamental problem. This issue of marginalization is not anything that somebody can neglect. And the marginalization now has taken a different level. If you look at the organization of the state, you discover that seemingly is like certain tribes now are far more important than others. So you see that instead of us to try to limit this issue of marginalization, be it Anglophone, Francophone, now it has gone down to the level of tribes. Okay. So you see that the problem is persisting. Okay. During one of our programs, we made mention of the fact that some of the, the core grievances of
this crisis had been, addressed by the government. The issue of the creation of the common law bench,
the recruitment of bilingual teachers.
I mean, it came up, and we actually saw some ministries totally handed to Anglophones. The Minister of Territorial Administration that is so much loved, even both Anglophone and Francophone. We saw Professor Nalova Lyonga doing a marvelous job, according to many observers, the Ministry of Secondary Education. These are actually proofs to show that the government had good intention to, listen to the plight of the teachers and the lawyers.
Exactly. Those were the indicators, but everything being equal, we discover that it's still persisting. It's still persisting because it's like the crisis has been taking stages. It started with a simple grievances by teachers and lawyers. Today, where are we? We are in fact, it's a different ball game. Developmental issues has become part and parcel of it. Because when you look at those boys who commit those acts, many of them are unemployed, especially those those who actually commit the acts, the kidnappings and all the like. Many are unemployed. Many have lost their family members. So to them now it's like a revenge tactic. You see, so it's something that we really need to go deep down to solve. And the only solution is that everybody we come together and we see how we can talk, we dialogue with no ego, with no preconditions like Alois was saying, and so on and so forth. So everything being equal, when you look at the crisis today, you see, particularly from the boys, you see that many are thieves. Yes, because the original cause doesn't seem to be the same today. Because when you look at the acts, you go and people are settling scores. You kidnap somebody, you ask for ransom. If the person does not give you the money, you kill the person. Come on, where are we? We are gradually becoming like Nigeria, where insecurity, you have individuals move with vans of security guards, not necessarily the police. Maybe that's the system that they want to implement now in Cameroon. No, it shouldn't be like that. Cameroon has always been a peaceful nation, and is one of the countries that you can move freely at night and so on with no fear.
You can stay anywhere.
So with all of this, I think the head of state needs to take the bull by the horn. This issue, we have all the, like he was saying, say Lizard and say in this Cameroon. I strongly believe that if the government wants to solve this problem, they will solve it fully. Because we have a very strong intelligence service that can detect those who are sending money to this or those who are kidnapping or all of this, and you arrest them. But now that will still be solving the problem from the top. It won't go down. Of course, we all know the down problem. The down problem is a form of the state, the sharing of the national cake, which still remains a problem among Cameroonians today. Is still a problem among Cameroonians. So if we can struggle to a certain degree to reduce at least these problems at the level of the grass field, it may be better. One never knows.
Okay. Apostle Gilbert, the government have been championing cause, for IDPs, some IDPs to return home. Others have actually returned, but what is the guarantee that they will return, they will not be kidnapped? Because from experience, the situation you have, there are still cars that when they are going to the northwest, they have to either cover their number plates. When they are going to the southwest, they have to either cover their number plate. When the other time I arrived Bamenda and I was putting on, I was dressed in national colors, green, red, yellow, and somebody looked at me and asked me, "Where are you coming from?" I said, "I'm from around." He said, "You don't look like somebody from around because you're putting on green, red, yellow." So what is the guarantee that those returning VIPs will not be kidnapped, will not still face insecurity because it still persists?
Fabio, I want to tell you that so many people, in as much as some of them have already cohabited with their host cities or villages, but there are still so many that like to go back to their villages. Especially, I will quote example, especially Anglophones are people who like to always go back home. No matter what, even their corpses, they like that. Even when you die, they like to carry you back home. They are not that kind of people that like to stay out for long. But I want to tell you that, but for now, that mentality have changes because so many of them have already established, like what you were saying, some of them have already established here. So that call for to say go back home is not more like in those days, like in 2017, 2019, that they were doing everything to see that people should go back to their various villages. That call for that, many people have already like integrated in the various host cities that they find themselves into it. But notwithstanding, like for example, when they look behind, like sometimes they want to try, like, oh, let me go back home. Then you hear again a story coming like somebody was killed here, somebody was killed here, somebody who just came in new was kidnapped. Somebody, we have here cases that somebody who just came maybe from abroad and went to Bamenda was killed. We have heard those type of cases, so it creates fears. Like for instance, I always like to quote example. Just the day that this thing happened there in Bali, most people travel overnight. They left overnight. So but now the boys themselves now are not calling for people. No, they did not come for them. They should come back. So like what Frank was saying, I think that education also will help these people. We need to educate them too, because like now, most of them now they are fighting within themselves to see that if you are against development, they are fighting you again. Like for instance, the straight road of Ngwakotunja, which was being blocked by a particular segment of a group. Another group is saying that, another group is saying that if those people do not release that road, they will also intervene. So you see now that there are some cases now that is the individual among them. They are looking, they are seeing into it now that these things are not normal. So as days are going by, they themselves are struggling to put order within themselves, in as much as it was before. All these things is because of the people who led this revolution. What are they calling revolution? They call it what? They put a wrong mindset in the mind of these people, and given the fact that they were not learned, they were not people who have the knowledge, they grab it, but they themselves are coming into reality now to see that this thing that we were just pursuing, we were following, it was not reality.
So they have decided to be, they have turned into kidnappers, thieves, to make sure that at least they can get something.
Yeah, so now the problem now is because they don't have even, like for example, that we are saying that
we used to touching money.
Yes, all these things that lie into what we are saying, that this thing we should go to genuine dialogue. Because now some of them are even doing it, they are not even happy doing it, they are not comfortable with it again. But the problem is that they don't have safety. If they leave the bush and come, the military will arrest them. They will take them to where they don't like. So the problem now is that they are just doing like do or die.
There's a DDR.
Yeah, the DDR there, so they don't trust it because they have not seen any exhibit or any improvement in the people who went there before. What have the DDR provide for them, for the people who were there? We have not seen people who were there.
We have some who have been trained. We have some who have.
We have not seen that, for example, like what Frank was saying, there are some things in this nation that when you do them, come publicly and announce them, let people see, because some of them are still saying that the people who were there, they have even killed them. We will not see.
No, that we cannot.
No, that's why we are saying that some of them say so. I don't say we. Some of them are saying so on the ground.
But you cannot transmit that message on.
I'm sorry, but I want to say that the government, when they do something, when you do something that is good, like the AFCOM, they brought the cup, they brought it properly, the people saw it. When you have trained some of these people, as you are saying, and that they were former separatist fighters, and they have come to DDR, they have transformed them, they have been now reformed, they are now integrated them in the society. Make the public to see that they are now working in this place, they are working in this place, this one that was this is now working here, this that will happen. If you don't do it, how will you gain the confidence of others that they will come out and they will save? So the problem now lies in what is happening now is ghost. As you are saying that who are those controlling things now, I can tell that it's ghost controlling it. Ghost controlling it in which way? Fear. The highest enemy of man is fear. There are some people now that are living in fear, and when a nation or individuals or communities are living in fear, it's more dangerous. Because you don't know, you are moving, you don't know the next thing that will happen to you. And with that in mind, you can cause more problems, because the people now, what is happening now is about fear. All of them know that all the things they were fighting for has failed. They know it very well in their mind that this thing will never survive, it will never work. But the problem now is the fear of belonging back to that society that they are destroyed. Coming out, you will see somebody that will kill his family member. Coming out, you know somebody will identify that this is the person that killed my sister. Yeah, coming out, this somebody will identify this is the person who kidnapped me and took me 1 million. That peace will not be there. That living together can never be. I cannot live with you together when I know that you killed my brother and then we are living together. So it takes now a nation to come now into this reconciliation and bring people together and give an educative thought to them that look, this man did all this, but we have come to a point that we don't want to look at the cause. Let us come back. And the way you are doing it, you are compensating them. You cannot be telling somebody who have kidnapped and maybe take all his capital.
Somebody whose house has been burned.
And then you take all his capital, or a businessman, and then you are saying that you should forgive those people. Then the person can sit beside you and say that I have surrendered, and then you are accepting. Brother, it's not normal. But the government can.
It's like you are owing your landlord and you come to church and you give your life to Christ and you think that you go back and your landlord
and then maybe give any time in church and give even a seat in church and say God has forgiven you. Then your landlord is there crying. You will not stay in that house. So for reconciliation to take place, that's where government come in to mitigate. What will government do? It will not compensate those people. That's why Frank was saying it's in the plan of the government plan. When you compensate that individual that the house was burned, you compensate because those people in the bush cannot do that. They don't have that need. They don't even have their own to eat. So it's only the government that can come in now. And I even know UNDP said United Nations have some budget for those type of plans. When they compensate these people now, you can be able now to say, okay, I forgive this man, but now having something at hand. You cannot be forgiving something when there's nothing at hand. And that's why even the Bible tells us that when you say that you have repented, you should restitute. If you're a thief, or you're an embezzler, or you're a fraudster, if you repent, do what? You restitute. Like a man in the Bible who was a tax collector, when he repented, he says, everybody that I owe, I'll give double time. He went back and began paying the people that he extorted money from them, Zacchaeus. So meaning that if this country want to go where, there are some people that need compensation. And only on the table of dialogue, that when the dialogue come and this thing is over, will not begin to promise, they will not begin promising people that and those people who lost this, they will have this. Those who lost this, and that is how reconstruction can come back.
Those ministers who are at Kundenge, who attend church services, and Kundenge ministers and directors who have embezzled, who claim to have given their life, they should give back everything they stole to
that is what we are saying
to the state. That is the best way of forgiveness. They are going to have peace of mind.
Yes.
Now, Alois, one of the things that President Paul Biya has always stood for in Cameroon is national unity and integration, living together. In the Northwest and Southwest, the Anglophones talked of marginalization. But when we look at it critically, this has been one of the highest moments that Cameroonians have, reintegrated among themselves, because we have Anglophones from the Northwest and Southwest who now speak French, who are now integrated in the Francophone zones. We have more Francophones sending their children to Anglophone schools. They now speak English, which means that you can end up having a French teacher or somebody from the Francophone zone teaching English in the Anglophone zone. So which means that this crisis has actually created an atmosphere of reintegration, contrary to what those in the Northwest, those who started the war thought. It has instead brought Cameroonians together, because we have seen living together.
National unity has never been a problem. The living together has never been a problem. The real problem is the eating together. Cameroonian people have no problem among themselves. I'm married to an Anglophone. What will my child say? Is he going to be an Anglophone or a Francophone?
He will be a Cameroonian.
My son is a Cameroonian. So, and we have many cases like this, that we live together. We don't really have that problem. But the real problem that occupies and that has maybe fueled that crisis is the problem of eating together, the equal redistribution of the wealth of our country. It's unfortunate this particular case was raised by the Northwest and the Southwest and regions of our country, but it is also a reality in many other regions, without undermining the particular case of the Northwest and Southwest. And this boils down to a problem of governance. The governance system have made it such a way that the power as well as the wealth of the country seems to be concentrated in few hands. In few hands, while a vast majority of Cameroonians are living in precarity, are living in misery. This is because the resources of the country have not been made in such a way that they are benefiting to the vast majority of Cameroonians. So if we really want to build national unity sincerely, if we really want to sincerely promote the living together, then we need to touch the aspect of eating together. We need to have reforms that favor the emancipation of all communities, so that tomorrow, after solving the crisis in the Nozo, we should not be faced with another crisis coming from another community because of the same problems. We need to find solutions that make sure that the wealth of our country, the powers are being given to the people, because we should not be having the feeling that this particular set of people or this particular let me just call it tribe or is dominating over others. No, it needs to be Cameroon belongs to all Cameroonians, and the resources of Cameroon pertains to all Cameroonians, and we need to make the governing body, the governing class, should need to make sure that the resources are beneficial to everybody. I think by doing that, we'll be doing a long way to solve this particular crisis. But while waiting for perennial solutions, there are Anglophones, there are IDPs who are suffering. It's a reality right now. We are facing a situation of back to school. The schools will be resuming in a few weeks. But what have we really done as a governing body? Have to alleviate the burden of buying school materials, or bringing back paying school fees, or helping even the students to get back to school despite the conditions we're having now. That should be the concern actually of the people governing us. They need to find clear measures on how to help these people and bring about some things that will alleviate the costs. Maybe some kind of decisions to favor the reintegration of the back to school momentum for the IDPs. These are things that will be concrete and will touch the people, and maybe will soften the hearts of the people, because let me tell you, and you bear with me, that many people their hearts have become more and more strong because of whatever they have gone through, be it themselves or their families. And this strongness of the heart of these situations make reconciliations or a situation of permanent peace a little bit difficult. So we need to look for all ways to soften the heart and to bring back the people together.
Okay, thank you very much. You are watching Inside the Issues on Bein News 1, and we are gradually moving towards the end of the program. Just as Alois talked about back to school in the southwest region, precisely in Fako division, in the localities of Semo Ekange, of course, and Sonny Camps, that is in Tiko, close to 200 students and pupils have received didactic materials from Southwest Football Cameroon and local football promoters. This has come as a relief barely weeks to the start of the 2026-2027 academic year. We have details in the following report.
Hundreds of pupils and students in Semo Ekange in Tiko subdivision, southwest region of Cameroon, have received school supplies as part of a community initiative by Southwest Football Cameroon in partnership with local football promoters. The initiative, dubbed Supporting Vulnerable Children Season 2, was organized to help children from vulnerable families prepare for the new academic year 2026-2027 by providing them with essential learning materials. The beneficiaries received didactic materials including notebooks, pens and other learning tools, offering much needed support to families facing difficulties meeting back to school expenses. The organizers say the initiative is driven by the belief that every child deserves access to basic tools needed to learn, grow and succeed, regardless of their socioeconomic background. The event brought together hundreds of children, parents and community members, and football stakeholders, turning what is traditionally a sporting platform into an avenue for social intervention and community support. Southwest Football Cameroon says, in partnership with local football promoters, its aim not only at developing football talent but also at using the sport as a vehicle for positive social change. The initiative is also part of efforts to support vulnerable children who might otherwise begin the academic year without adequate school materials. Speaking through the campaign, the organizer and CEO of Southwest Football Cameroon, Mbunyi Bazi, appealed for continued support from individuals, businesses and organizations, stressing that even small contributions can make a difference in the life of a child. The Season 2 campaign held on August 22, 2026 in Semo Ekange, Tiko subdivision, reflects a growing effort by football stakeholders to give back to their communities and invest in the next generation.
Mr. Mela Titus. So I'll be very, very happy for the football, Southwest Football Cameroon. We visit my community today. I'll be more impressed with their gesture in Romy Camp by assisting me for donate some book stuff during.
My name, Beleke Kingsley Ndekelengwe. I'll be very, very happy for this organization, Southwest Football Cameroon.
For the hundreds of pupils and students who received the materials, the intervention has provided more than school supplies. It has offered encouragement and renewed hope as they prepare to return to the classroom.
one good term deserves another. Of course, we wish the organizers of this event well, because I mean, one pen can change your destiny, one pen can change your future, and it can equally change your life. From Tiko, we are now heading to Kumba, that's in Cape Town in Meme Division, where the Green City has been vibrating to the rhythm of good football. That is, interquarters football competitions have been taking place, and several football finals will be played this weekend, including the final of the 6th edition of the Nkoms Family Football Tournament, which has been taking place in Kumba. The competition has been animating the town of Kumba for the past 1 month. Details.
Milan FC and Riverside United will battle for the men's title of the 6th edition of the Nkoms Family Football Festival, Komfafut, on Saturday, August 29, 2026, at the Catholic School Field in Mabanda, Kumba, Meme Division in the southwest region of Cameroon. The final, scheduled for 3 p.m., will bring to an end a month-long football competition that has kept the town of Kumba alive, attracting football lovers and supporters from across the country. Organizers say the competition is more than just football. The Nkoms family says Komafut is its own way of giving back to the community while creating opportunities for younger generations to showcase their football talents. Over the past years, the tournament has grown into one of the biggest local football competitions in Kumba, providing entertainment for residents while bringing together players, supporters, and communities through sport. The final will see Milan FC take on Riverside United, with both sides aiming to lift the coveted Komfafut trophy. Beyond the competition itself, organizers say the festival is designed to promote youth development, community participation, and unity through football. Football fans unable to attend the final at Mabanda will be able to follow the action live on Southwest Football Cameroon Facebook platform. The 6th edition of Komfafut is supported by partners, including Boisson du Cameroon and MTN Cameroon. As Kumba prepares for the grand finale, attention now turns to Milan FC and Riverside United, with one team set to end the month-long football spectacle as champions of the 2026 Komfafut men's category. In the under-15 boys category, Heptic FC and Bracer FC will face off in the final at 11 a.m., while the inaugural senior women's category will see Legends Academy Ladies go against Sunshine Ladies FC at 1 p.m. in the final.
I want to say good afternoon to everybody watching Inside the Issues from K-Town, from Kumba. We're back in Yaoundé and we are going to be wrapping up. Alois, we have been talking about some activities that should actually animate this period of going back to school, and we are getting rumors that your party is organizing an activity like that. Since we have you here, can you confirm?
Exactly. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. We have been advocating for a complete demilitarization of the Northwest and Southwest to find perennial solutions to this Anglophone crisis. But while waiting that those who have the power to implement the resolution, we are trying in our way possible to come to the rescue of the IDPs, the victims of this particular crisis, especially those who are finding themselves within the Mfundi division. That's why on the 5th of September, we shall be organizing an outreach, distribution of didactic material, books, pens, bags to IDPs. We have already gone on ground to try to work on getting the data, getting the families, and gathering together. We will communicate the venue when everything is set, but it's going to be probably within Yaoundé 6 or Yaoundé 3. And we shall have the opportunity then to share with the IDPs the different materials we have gathered so far. We are targeting about 100 IDPs to help them go back to school. So
are you targeting 100? Are you targeting 100 IDPs or 100 members of your party, or 100 persons to join your party? Because just like Apostle Gilbert said, that politicians are always very strategic. Is it a donation to IDPs, or will it be for some form of a political rally?
Well, I think if we're targeting militants, we'll be donating wrappers and caps to parents. But I think we have a genuine intention of coming to the rescue of IDPs the way possible. We know that.
Of course, education is not about any party.
Any party. I think as Cameroonians who really care, we come to the rescue of this particular vulnerable group of people. And I think that we are all conscious that 100 kids might not be enough. considering the demand, but this is the own contribution of the MP3 party, and we are calling on all the NGOs, we are calling on all the powers in place to look for mechanisms to concretely touch in terms of help the lives of these IDPs living in different towns of our country, very far from their homes, and sometimes who have lost the very dear one, those the providers within their families, and are forced to stay in a very narrow, sometimes very narrow area, maybe 6 to 5, sharing a particular bed and a different space in very precarious conditions. And we know it's just a tip of salt within the ocean, but if all of us put hands together, we can help and we can bring about a better Cameroon. I think this is an action that we are calling on all stakeholders to perpetrate such actions, so that together we can make things happen for the betterment of the people, the IDPs, especially the victims of this particular crisis.
Of course, let's hope that the IDPs themselves will benefit. Of course, education should not solely be left on the government, especially in this fragile time where we have crisis from left to right. I think one good term deserves another. We're going to be signing out just in a few minutes. Frank, your last word before we part company on this topic.
Well, I think what I can say is we all should put our hands on deck to see how we can solve the Anglophone crisis plaguing particularly the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. We have spoken about dialogue for just too long. I think we should recede. And I want to take this opportunity to plead on the head of state to take this matter very, very personal. 10 years is too much. He should make it, among other things, a top priority in this his mandate to solve the Anglophone crisis. Because this is his second mandate in the crisis. It's not good, it doesn't speak well. So we should do everything possible to see how we can solve this problem, so that the beautiful regions of the northwest and the southwest, because truly before this crisis started, Bamenda was becoming, I don't know, heaven on earth. The town was transforming. I don't know, it's like it was a spiritual something. I remember that year so well, 2016. Bamenda was taking a different turn. Out of a sudden, everything changed.
With the coming of the Bamenda Urban Crossing project sponsored by the World Bank, Bamenda will regain its place.
Well, all of those things, like I said, those are all safety net measures. If we do not solve the underlying problem, which is a crisis, we see how we can make those from those regions happy, because that is the essence. Solve the underlying problem. It could be from the structure of the state, it could be through marginalization. Let us diagnose it scientifically without putting politics into it, and from there I think we will have the solution.
Okay, thank you very much, Frank Tanvi Roosevelt. He's a local development expert, one with a fine brain, one that we are always very much delighted to have him on our platform. Apostle Gilbert Macaulay, thank you very much for your insight on today's edition of the program, and we must appreciate you for always being there for us.
Thank you very much for this. Thank you, fellow viewers. Thank you, all the fellow panelists. Thank also for the management of BNews for giving us this opportunity, this platform that we always come and speak our mind to stating the things of our fellow Cameroonians. And I want to also say that, adding my voice with Frank to say that our dear president, the head of state, he promised us that this mandate will be different and it will be of the youth. And I say we are still waiting for that cabinet reformment, because we believe that when new brain come into play, new things will happen. And for our IDPs that we have been talking about it, I want to say that while we are constructing and arranging the system, we need to also eat. We will not deny the fact that eating is a daily habit, and living and dressing and living well, going to school is a daily habit that every Cameroonians have right for it. Like what the MP3 parties is doing is one of a very approach. We need to applaud them for that particular initiative, and want to say that the back of school is very, very silent. We need to hear noise as they are preparing. I believe that other stakeholders, other organizations, individuals, also goodwill, people who had of goodwill, goodwill should also go to the.
So how is it? It almost skipped my mind. How is it happening in your institution? We understand that you are also the proprietor of Dominion Multipurpose school here in Yaoundé at Etokos?
Yeah, like we were saying, you know, like during my time in field conducting database collection during this Anglophone crisis, we discovered that one of the real challenges that the IDP had was education. And that's why we came in with our partner to see that we should put a structure and to see how we can help these IDPs. And that is why I'm saying that when you look at the level of education, because we discovered that even in Yaoundé there was a platform that was put like in various government schools, there should be reduction of IDPs in school fees. But that was not done. You still take an IDP and go to school, you see they will still be asking you a stipend to put your child in school. So this prompted us that at least we should put a structure so that at least this Anglo-Saxon system of education to progress even here in Yaoundé. And that's one of the things that we're saying, that living together, we have that is the benefit we have had for this crisis also, that we are living now together, because majority of the children that was in the street here in Yaoundé, we had to give scholarship for some of the IDPs in the school there to see that at least they should go to school. That's our own way that we could come as collective individuals to set up that the school for these people to have an opportunity. So Dominion Multipurpose School of Excellence is a place which at least we are practicing that real Anglo-Saxon system of education, and we are giving opportunity for all the children around the Simbok area, around the Etokos, to come and feel that impact of real education that have not been diluted. That is not only about marketing or only about selling the education as what we are seeing today, but for us to have opportunity to impact these vulnerable individuals that left from Northwest and South. That was our main objective. But notwithstanding, our brothers from the other end, like my brother was saying, Cameroonians are living together. We love living together. We don't have problem individually, because most Francophone parents also have seen the benefit of the school. They are not floating their children to come and study also, because they see the moral and the attitude of the children that are coming from that school, so they are floating in. So we give God the glory.
Okay, yes, Frank, you want to say something briefly?
Yes, I just wanted to take this opportunity to, congratulate the students of St. Mark English High School for the 100% results they had in ordinary levels and 97% in advanced level. Also congratulate the wonderful teachers, the staff, management of that institution, which is a holistic institution actually, training brilliant Cameroonians in diverse ways, respecting the CBA method. So I really want to take this opportunity to thank all of them for the wonderful work they did for the entire school year, and that this is another school year which is coming up. They should continue with that spirit.
Yes, as you were speaking, I was just jotting down your bill that you will pass through the commercial service. Thank you very much. I mean, when it is good, we say it is good. We also say congratulations to all the students who made it for the 2026 General Certificate of Education. That is the GCE. And to those who do not make it, come on, man. People fail 99 times and they still rise up and go. Thank you very much, Alois, for being part.
To talk about GCE.
Thank you very much for being part of the show today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fabrice. Thank you to the top management of the news for the invitation, and for the co-panelists for the very constructive discussion we have had today. It's always a pleasure for the MP3 party to be on your panel, and we hope that